Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Wendy Bell Radio is live.
Do you guys know what today is?
Hump day!
It is hump day. We've been waiting. Oh my goodness. Are you getting some alert? Did you just
getting
explode?
a phone call.
Who doesn't know what you do?
From Evans City? I don't know, but they need to be fired.
Good afternoon. That's so weird to say still. Okay, so we haven't gotten Rumble to put us in the big box yet. It appears, because we're slowly inching through. We've got 1.2. Hello, join us. Yes, come into the fray. Come into the studio. How's everybody? Hi, Froggy. I love what you wrote.
Why call if you're not going to leave a voicemail?
Wait a minute. You were just complaining that you were getting a phone call, and now you're annoyed that they didn't leave a message.
Right. What if it was something important, like extending my car warranty? You know, like now I have to guess the rest of the day of, oh, geez, is my car warranty still good?
Now I have to guess. Okay.
Right.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to see what Rumble is doing. Let's see. Homepage. Let's see if we're even noted. We are not even noted. Not even noted.
Oh, dare.
I know. They've got Steven Crowder in the big box. Bill O'Reilly. Huge news, an emergency press conference. Well, I just watched that, and that was all about Maha, which is important. And then Caroline Lovett talking about that. Rumble, do better. Okay?
Can we say that the next time you want to put huge news or breaking news,
yeah, make it sure it's huge.
make it someone in handcuffs.
Well, you know, that's exactly right. I think doing things that are healthy for us and changing, you know, the food pyramid and what we're all supposed to be eating and changing, you know, school lunches and meals for seniors and veterans is important.
Yes.
Thanks, Froggy. Is important, yes, but I agree with you. Huge news, breaking news, bombshell, blockbuster. Oh my
Fox
God.
alerts.
Blah, 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 blah.
Everything. Their transitions from one
racism.
story to another.
It's racism. That's what it is. See, if everything's racist, nothing is racist. If everything's a Fox News alert, nothing really matters. I dropped a potty word last night on Twitter. It was the bad one, too.
Oh, a big one. The big one. The
big
Mama Jamma.
The big kahuna.
Yeah.
I dropped it because I had it.
Oh,
for
sakes.
I was a little grumpy stilled skin, and I saw the bunch of clowns like the kente cloth knee. How did Tales from the Crypt Keeper Nancy Pelosi manage to rise from her Colin Kaepernick pose with her kente cloth on and her mask and her pterodactyl hands, right? She's like, how did somebody had to go over and like lift her, right? You know it. And so yesterday they hold a candlelight vigil. They're the only people still talking about January 6th. See, we moved on from that because we know what that was. But now Trump is coming after you, and you know it, and you better be scared. Nancy hopes she dies before she has to see the music. Dan Bongino, I don't know if he's coming back today, if he's coming back tomorrow, but Bruck's sniffles that he alleges are because of a rogue nose hair.
No, I got up there and with the weed whacker and took them all out. Now it feels like my nose is always running, and it's not.
It's just normally that you have a whole forest in there to stop the snot?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Wow. Look, I'm going to say 2,000 here. Look, let's go. We're going to do this hump day might be the ultimate display of P1 attention. So if you have not rumbled, and look, that's half of you, because I'm looking, you got 2,100 on here right now. We've got 900 or so rumbles. Oh, now we're over 1,000.
Yeah,
Thank you.
If you don't have an account or you're on your phone, you have to close out of the chat. If you're on your TV, you can thumb up to where you get the bar. You can fast forward and rewind. And there's a thumb up over there too. Get an account. Just open an account. For nothing else, just to rumble.
So Rumble wanted us to start something called a tip jar. By no means do I expect you guys to use it. I'm not saying you should, but it's a new feature. It's going to be...
We kind of have to.
We have to. So
It's for crypto.
Yeah, I don't really understand it, to be honest. So whomever wants to put in the first $5,000, we'll see how that goes. And
we'll take all
we'll go
your
from
XRP.
there, right? All right. So did you guys see the most recent Nick Shirley sit down with his friend David? Froggy, another $10. I was number 1 to Rumble. Thank you. You're a good man. Well, he dropped some new stuff, and it has me thinking about the world of fraud. This stuff going down in California now. I'm saying what? This is real. It's going to get real, baby. Look at that, Brock. 2,400 people.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
And only 1.19 rumbles?
Hey, I'll take it. We'll take who we get.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Moving to a different time period, it's a total gamble. You have no idea what's going to happen. And we get what we get, and we don't get upset, and we love you. And we thank you for being here. How about that?
3, 2, 1. Welcome to your daily dose of facts to fight off the liberal gaslighting.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane.
You have sanctuary in the city of Chicago.
Or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm.
I am angry. We are not going back. Not ever.
North is still north. People can yell at me.
The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them.
North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
We don't get fooled again. No.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, we're converting the Marxist left 1 hour at a time on the Wendy Bell radio program.
Well, hello, America. Greetings to all of you across the beautiful fruited plain. Welcome home to the one and only Wendy Bell radio program. Look, it does make me kind of a one and only the way I see the world in light of other radio broadcasters. You know, I'm a mom, and that is the way I see the world. You see the world through the lens of whatever you do. But my number one greatest gift, joy in the world, is to be a parent. And what is going on in this country is robbing every single child and everyone that has yet to be born. And it is fascinating to watch the left wake up to it. Wow, the fraud stuff is like, Somalians are sweating a bit in Minnesota today, and we're going to tell you why, as it looks like Gavin Newsom is the next on the hot seat. This is the Wendy Bell radio program, wendybellradio.com. Get our app, follow along the live video stream. Just keep coming back. We always have room in the kitchen table for you. Welcome home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. I remember finding out 26 years ago that I was pregnant with my first son. I didn't know it was a boy. I didn't know anything. I had just found out, oh my gosh, what a life changer. Everything in your world is different all of a sudden. You start driving differently. You look at the food and the drinks that you have a little bit differently. You think about exercise. You start thinking long-term planning. And when you're in your 20s doing it, it is really weird. You're like, well, we don't even have money to barely scrape by. And now we're going to enter in a third person into this equation. What are we doing? And it is super scary and it's exciting, but it's scary. And I remember after I had my son, Michael, I had to have, quote unquote, an emergency C-section. He was breech. The doctor was like, look, you can push all night and he might not be able to make it out, in which case we'll have to do. I'm like, say no more. Of course, I'm going to do whatever is right for the baby. My husband, a doctor, was against it. But I went through, had the C-section, had this beautiful prize at the end of the operation. And here is our son, Michael Patrick. Well, Michael Patrick was a wonderful baby until he didn't really know how to latch on and nurse. And I'll tell you, When your boobs feel like they're going to explode, it is a very uncomfortable feeling, ladies and gentlemen. I sat on the couch, didn't know what to do. He would not connect. And so we frantically called for help. And who knew what kind of help is out there when you cannot get out your milk for your baby? There comes a home health care nurse. Here comes the equipment. Here is your pump. Oh, praise Jesus. Thank you, right? And then all of a sudden, things are like, okay, right in the world. So I'm thinking to myself, what are all the needs that you as a mom, pregnant or otherwise, recently delivered, or your newborn baby could possibly have? What kind of needs do you have? Well, that's where we need to be focused, ladies and gentlemen, when we consider the next layer of fraud in Minnesota. Okay? So we have the daycare stuff. We already know that the daycare stuff is ridiculous. The Somalians alleging with fake storefronts, all of these businesses, but no kids, no actual paperwork, no anything except collecting all of our money. We know about that. We know about the home health care stuff, right? Maybe you have somebody in your life who's disabled, who needs a little assistance. Well, the Somalians were right there as well, eager to help you out. Now we have transportation fraud. You're going to hear this later in the broadcast. I mean, if you've got people who need to get to medical appointments and things of that nature, well, what do you have? Oh, it's another spoke on the wheel of fraud. This one for 1,200 different private transportation companies to take people around to their appointments. They don't exist, right? And then I started listening to Nick Shirley in his most recent video drop with his bombshell whistleblower guy, David. And this is what he said. He said the whole point of the Somalians being here in Minnesota, he said, it started as an escape from civil war. They came under Barack Obama. They settled for some reason in Minneapolis, and they started getting public money, or they started getting basically welfare. They started getting our taxpayer money, and they started liking that, right? And they started multiplying. Now, I don't mean to make it sound like these people are rabbits, but these people are rabbits, okay? And here's why. In their world, a man, they're Muslim, right? A man can have multiple wives. What is it, Brock? 4 wives? You can have 4 wives, something like that.
I don't know why, but yeah.
You can have 4 for different reasons. Brock is like, why would anybody want 4 women in their lives, right? 4 wives, God knows how many kids. Think of all of the offshoot scams and schemes and avenues for grifting, just basically off of the fact that people are getting pregnant and having babies there. Somalians. Well, the Somalian women don't really trust modern medicine. They certainly do not trust male doctors, and they are not fans at all of cesarean sections. In Somalia, childbirth is done at home, right? It is what it is. One could argue it would be quite popular to do that currently in the United States if you're a Somalian. So what could you possibly need, ladies and gentlemen, where other grifts and grabs could be? Well, you might need lactation help afterwards. You might need a midwife to get you through the process. You might need a doula. You might need some mental health afterwards, some help, right? How many different grifts are there? It's endless. It's endless. It's not just daycares. It's not just the Quality Leering Center. It's not just vans that allegedly transport people to their appointments that never leave the parking lot and haven't for years. It's not just visiting people allegedly in their homes and tending to them, which we know did not happen. It's the entire apparatus of the Somalian population growing and ultimately overtaking a zip code. What do you have all of a sudden? Now you need places for the Somalians to worship. Now you need all of your Somalian-run businesses. Now you have this, civic center, this library, this corner store, all owned by You have paid for the Great Replacement in this United States. It wasn't happening, they said. Of course it was happening. Whether they wanted it to happen or not, when you give people hundreds of millions into the billions of dollars, what's the incentive to go back to suck Somalia where, it's 1,000,000 degrees, everything's unstable, and you don't know if you're going to have food for your family in the next day? This is what we have been doing. Right? And this is just, honestly, it's hard to even imagine. This is how I feel about election fraud, right? People who noticed stuff in November of 2020 on election night, right? Election workers. They're like, well, we got kicked out of our polling place. And then they started taping the windows closed. They put up cardboard and put up duct tape and they started closing things off. We were shooed away and weren't allowed to see. Why was that, right? Tip O the iceberg. If you and I think that 2020 was even the remotest bit suspicious, it was the most obnoxious landslide in favor of Donald Trump. And if you follow his social media account, Truth Social, it is all coming out, ladies and gentlemen, and they know. It's almost like this is the final Hail Mary attempt to cash in as much as they can before the time is up, before the clock runs out. Did you guys hear about this? The immigration agents surging in Minneapolis. This was yesterday. The largest operation ever in the United States. Thousands upon thousands of ICE agents. Kristi Noem, you guys, was there. That girl is badass. I don't care what you say about that woman. She is on the ground, wearing the vest, wearing the ski cap, ready to go, watching what is going on. And what did they round up in Minneapolis? What did they get in Minnesota yesterday? They arrested 1,000 illegal aliens, more than 100 of them, with pretty extensive criminal backgrounds, including murder. So I want to ask you this as we proceed today. Pay close attention to the people who are pushing back. People who say folks like Donald Trump, Nick Shirley, Elon Musk, these people are the problem. Because they are haters, they expose the fraud, and now relentlessly they want it to stop. Your Democratic Party finds more wrong with Elon Musk than they do with the mountains of fraud going on stealing your money. Isn't that so darn interesting? And who's next? According to Kristi Noem, we're going to California. We're going to go see Gavin Newsom next, because what's allegedly been going on in my home state of California might just make the daycare Somalian garbage in Minnesota look silly. We're talking potentially $250 billion simply in education fraud. Shut up. You guys are so surprised, right? Caller, are you completely flabbergasted? Oh boy. It's coming, you guys. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, I want you to hear this guy. You've known him from MSNBC. His name is Mehdi Hassan. And he has his show now, his own podcast, whatever, because he bounced from the network. So he says he's got an idea. The focus must be not on prosecuting the fraudsters, but on taking down Elon Musk. And the next Democrat candidate for president who makes that their priority, he says, is going to win. Say what? Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. I'll never forget. Joe took out a bag of frozen peas. My boobs were like this. It was ridiculous, and I was miserable. I'm like, I'm sorry, God. I'll never ask for them again. I promise. I never will. Take them away. And literally, Joe got behind me, and I had a big towel on my chest and a bag of frozen peas, and he stood behind me, and I was screaming as he was trying to help me get this stupid stuff out, because Michael was like, I'm not interested in what you are providing. And I'm like, no, see, you really are, or I'm going to die. So hurry up, you little crapper. Too much information, but this is what I was thinking today about Somalian fraud, because it's all about the doulas and all the home health care mumbo. It's going to be another huge area for Nick and everybody else to investigate.
How much did Joe charge you for those bags of peas?
Oh my gosh. It was the most miserable experience of my life. Anywho, now's a great time for me to drop something very cool on you, and that is the feeling of cold, hard gold. Gold and silver in your hot little hand. Oh, I'll tell you what. I don't know what the prices are today. Brock, have you looked? Let's see. WendyLovesGold.com. Let's see what they say. So I get my precious metals through WendyLovesGold.com. That's Texas Bullion Exchange. 855-927-5557. Look, everybody else on the radio will be like, my gold person is so-and-so. But did they actually go out and move the needle? Did they go out and drop the money? Did they go out and buy a significant amount of precious metals? Because I did. And I wanted the experience so I could talk to you. And I learned a lot when I talked to my representative at Texas Bullion Exchange. And I said to Joe, I'm like, this is something I think now is of the essence. And he's like, let's go. 855-927-5557. Gold is it down 24? Yeah, gold is down 24. Silver is down 265. It's at about 79 right now, which is, Brock got it last year
33.
for 33. So I'm no mathematician, but that's a pretty good turnaround. 855-927-5557. You're going to love them. And you can even be like, is she lying? Did she really buy gold and silver from you? And they'll be like, oh, yeah. Oh, yes, she did. You should next. Give it a shot. Peace of mind. This Mehdi Hassan guy is
He
just
is toxic.
Holy moly. Brock sent me that this morning, and I was like, you know, what a turd.
What I say, they should send this to every Republican.
Uh-huh.
Thune, get off your ass and nuke the filibuster.
100%.
There's no other way of putting it.
Yep. I'm sorry, that's not a nose hair. You have a cold, okay? Do you want more tissues?
No, I don't. It's nothing coming out.
Wendy Bell radio program. I want to read this to you. The Department of Homeland Security has made more than 1,000 arrests of illegal immigrants, many with criminal convictions in Minnesota. This happened yesterday, including 150 in Minneapolis on Monday. This is ICE Director Todd Lyons. He says, we have the largest immigration operation ever taking place right now. Federal agents and officers going door to door at businesses in the area suspected of being involved in illegal hiring and fraud. If you're Somalian right now in Minnesota, you're freaking sweating stones. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't understand. No, you do understand, and we understand what you've been doing. How about we do this? You get the hell out. How about that? That's so mean. But they've had babies here. Well, they can all leave. Goodbye. You've got enough, I'm sure, to live on. See you later. We are not leaving until the problem is solved, DHS wrote on Tuesday. So that is what's going on. The Trump administration doing what the Biden administration did not. Joe Biden and his team basically throwing gold bars off the top deck of the Titanic, the last year of his presidency. And we're going to detail that a little bit more later on in the program. I want you to hear this guy, Mehdi Hassan. He used to be a host on MSNBC. He is now a columnist for The Guardian, which is a suck publication. And he's going to say, look, he's not worried about what's going on in Minneapolis. He's not worried that you're being robbed blind. He's worried that Elon freaking Musk is the one who started this mess with Doge. Really? Listen.
I think the next Democratic president has to be ruthless. Not just president, next presidential candidate. The 2028 Democratic primaries have to showcase a group of politicians who are running for office to not just fix things, not just offer a bright new future, not just running on a change platform, but are running on a platform to prosecute and punish the people who broke the law, destroyed our country, destroyed our democratic fabric, destroyed society. I mean, turned people against one. What we saw over Christmas with the Somali fraud nonsense, the video from this right-wing YouTuber that went viral, all these people jumping on, attacking the Somali community. That is all engineered by people like Elon Musk. The algorithm does that. And I think I said this recently to John Favreau on Twitter. I said, maybe I'm only half joking when I say this, which is the next Democratic president should run on a plan to prosecute Elon Musk. That would win. I mean, they would easily go to the top of the pack. They would immediately go to the top of the polls in the Democratic race. So the first Democrat who comes out and says, my first act as president is to prosecute Elon Musk. Now, people will say, oh, you're politicizing. That ship has sailed. Right? That ship has sailed. The Republicans have no grounds to bring that up. And any Democrat who brings it up, they're living in the wrong world.
So this guy says the next Democrat candidate for president, the next administration that's Democrat, has to be ruthless. They have to prosecute and punish people, not the people who've been stealing from us, but the folks who exposed it. The people who upended their twisted view of democracy and justice and freedom and equality. And if you're not swimming in my lugubriously stunning air quotes, please feel my sarcasm now. Mehdi Hassan believes Elon Musk is more of a danger than the people who uninvited came here, multiplied, stole from us, and have no intention of stopping. To go back where? Back to Somalia? Mehdi Hassan is more worried about Elon Musk than he is about grift, fraud, abuse, theft, deception, all of it. And he's not done. He says, you know what? All you Republicans out there, you damn well better be scared because we're coming after you. Now, he's coming after us because we know the truth. Because we want the truth and we want the suck to stop. And they're banking on it continuing forever because it's all they have.
The Democratic president, if he or she wins in January 2029, is inaugurated, has to come in with a day one plan for accountability, has to run on accountability, has to pledge accountability, has to put the fear of God into their Republican opponents. Donald Trump's talking about preemptive pardons. Good. He should be talking about that because that means that they are afraid. And Steve Bannon said recently that if we lose the next election, some of the people in this room are going to be in prison, including me. Good. That is the thoughts they should have and people say, well, how are you different to the Republicans then? Very easy explanation. Their prosecutions are bull. The ones I'm proposing and we're supporting are real. Now that sounds biased, but you know what? Reality has a bias.
Wow. So the only way Democrats can win is to prosecute and jail their opponents. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that kind of feels like fascisty to me. How about you? Right? No kings. He's an oligarch. He's a tyrant. Oh, really? The president and the Republican Party that wants it all to finally come to an end so that you and the hard work that you do stays in your back pocket, that the money you earn goes to things that you want, so that we reduce this ridiculous tax burden on the American people, which is unsustainable and which has us now $40 trillion in debt. Mehdi Hassan and Democrats view the very people, you and myself, who want it to stop as the danger, not those grifting off of it. Isn't that interesting? So I want you to think for a minute. How much is $250 billion? So 250 billion, right? It's almost like funny money, the way we talk about it. Oh, it's only a couple billion. Oh, it's only 100 million. Oh, that's so easy. Is it on a clearance rack? Right? $250 billion. You'd have to spend $685 million a day to spend all that. That's what's been wasted in California in education fraud. What? Buckle up. It's next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Think about that.
Listen,
600.
that Hassan, he doesn't give a shit about, excuse my French, the Somalis.
No.
It's their Muslim, period. That's it.
100%. Look at us. We've doubled up to 4,400 almost. Hi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for finding us. 316 on X. We will ever grow that number. Let's see how you're doing with the Rumbles. You guys are doing well with the Rumbles, 1.77.
We got some competition today.
I would love if we had 2.22 Rumbles on the way back. See,
the hearings are going on right now.
We're not going to win in the world of numbers, but we are going to win in the world of interactions. That's what I love about this community. And that's why when you go down below the video box and you hit that thumbs up button, it matters. We need 500 people to do that before we come back, which is huge, but I know you can do it. I want to tell you quickly about lean. You know, it's interesting. If there is a pill or some kind of a supplement that you could take that didn't involve a shot with long-term effects that are unknown right now, if there was something that you could take that was not pharmaceutical, you did not need a prescription for it, therefore the ingredients would be primarily things that were in nature, things like adaptogens and nutraceuticals and vitamins and minerals and whatnot, that could help you lose, not like a couple pounds, but I'm talking significant, meaningful, life-changing weight. You'd be interested, right? You'd be interested in Take Lean. TakeLean.com and use my name, Wendy, as a checkout promo code. You're going to save 20%. Lean is Brickhouse Nutrition's offering in this weight loss field. They've had phenomenal results with it. It is quickly becoming their number one thing at Brickhouse Nutrition. Why? Well, it's pretty basic what they do. And it is to help you lose weight, obviously, by stifling your cravings and turning off that part of your brain that's like, I have to have a Snickers bar. It shuts it down. Also, it manages and maintains a healthy blood sugar, so you're not having these wild swings, right? And then it helps convert fat, your zhuzh, into energy, so you're not dragged out as you're losing weight. So what you're going to do is you're going to use this as a meal supplement. You're going to take this and you're not going to be hungry. And it's going to help you. And you're going to learn how to eat the right way in smaller portions, and it's going to work. TakeLean.com, promo code Wendy, 20% off. I love them. I trust them. 100%. Trust. Oh, and because of you people, Juvenon has reached out.
Ooh.
They're interested in doing some other something. So I got some Alpha Gold mail sent to the house yesterday. So I gave Jack one, Ryan one, and I'm sending one for Michael. And you have yours. You're not paying for it anyway. Why are you the victim?
What happens when I run out?
We're in a subscription. It's gonna. I have other stuff for you, and they sent me 3 more things of blood flow.
I could use some blood.
Brock, tell a quick story about why blood flow you learned is important to you.
So I went to have my back looked at yesterday, and the guy explained the disc, and they have this machine that brings you out and then puts you back and brings you out. He said because in the disc you don't get enough blood flow, which causes the disc to degenerate. Yeah, he's like, so all this us opening you up and putting you back together is making sure blood gets there to keep it plump, so to speak.
It's just so weird how many times now blood flow has popped up in commentary and conversations we're having with other people. And I'm like, I don't mean to sound like one of those weirdos, and I don't want to walk around with a jar in my bag and be like, have you heard of blood flow? Right? Like Vanna White, here you go. This has changed my world. Bloodflow7.com/Wendy. Not only are people seeing a normalizing of blood pressure, but I'm not even so sure that's the intended objective of bloodflow7.com/Wendy. The whole point is to get the blood moving, and it increases 260%. And you're like, how do you know that? You know that. You feel it. It hits you, and you're like, let's go. All of a sudden, when you take it, let's say you start your day every day taking 2 of these capsules, which I do. Throughout the course of the day, when you would normally be crashing and sleeping and being like, you're wide awake. You're wide awake, and you have stamina, and you have energy, and you have strength, and you have focus, and you have all of those things that sort of leave us after the age of what? 45, 50. And then at the end of the night, you're tired, and you're like, toodaloo, and you crawl into bed, and it's lights out, and you sleep like a freaking boulder. I don't know what else I could say. It's the best. Bloodflow7.com/Wendy. They've got other products. So I can't wait. We'll keep you posted. But hey, if I find a company that does what it says it's going to do and bing, 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 Juvenon does, I'm going to get behind it.
As soon as he told me yesterday about the blood flow, it's the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah. You're like, of course this makes sense. It didn't, a year ago, I would have never thought about it. And you know what? I almost said no to our gal to our friend Tiffany, who proposed this being a fit for us. And I was like, blood flow sounds so boring. She's like, might want to try it. I'm like, all right. And then I was like, okay. All right, what's going on out there? How are you? How did we do? Let's see. We are at 1.97. All right, we have 9 seconds to get 200 more people. I have faith in you. Thanks for being here. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. So Dan Bongino is returning to the airwaves. I personally am really excited. I'm excited on many levels, and we're going to talk about this in the third hour of the program. I'm excited about this, one, for the human being who is Dan Bongino. I'm excited for him to get back into life with his wife, with his family. And I'm just so grateful for the sacrifice to be a part of that administration and to work the way he did. I mean, we have no imagination of what he has discovered. And I hope at the end of the day, he is hopeful and optimistic, because he has had the great privilege of working under what I believe is the best president of our lifetime, period. So we're going to talk about that. I'm excited he's coming back. I don't know when it is. I've heard it could be as soon as tomorrow, could be today. I don't know. But we'll keep our eyes on that. I don't think that Dan Bongino as competition is a worry to me. He has way bigger an audience than I will ever have, but his voice is necessary. And I say the more of us out there telling the truth and showing people how to find information so they start thinking critically, I think it's a bonus, 100%. All right, we want to pivot now to what has been going on in these states. Elon Musk said something very interesting yesterday, and we featured it on the program, and it was a tweet. And he was piggybacking off of basically Nick Shirley saying he broke Tim Walz. I broke Tim Walz. Tim Walz is not running for re-election. He knows there is no way he would win. And he knows that he's going to be the one who takes the fall for this. He's not going to be the only one, but he's going to be a big casualty. So Nick Shirley posts, I took down, just by knocking on doors and exposing in a 42-minute video, I took down a huge dope of American politics. So Elon Musk tweets it back at him. He says, you know what? I believe that the fraud in New York and Illinois and in California is going to far eclipse what we're finding in Minnesota. And then he said, I believe that the fraud is so great that it's roughly 10% of America's budget, which is $7 trillion, give or take several hundred billion, right? And you take 10% of that, you're at, I mean, think about how much, $700 billion? Is that possible? Is that where we could be? Well, all eyes now, when you're looking at the fraud scene, all eyes are looking to the left coast. These are all sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, New York City, right? Los Angeles, San Francisco. You've got Chicago, of course. These are places where these grifts can fester, right? Come to our sanctuary. Come here, whether you're some child who thinks they want to have a transgender operation, you're an illegal alien who's breaking the law to get here, you're some kind of criminal, drug-dealing, narco-terrorist, goon, MS-13, come on here. We can provide you sanctuary. You need those bodies in order to have the alleged social services to take care of them, yes? So you need to have all sorts of money dumped into the homelessness situation in California. It never solves anything. It's just a grift. But you need the math. You need the cold, hard numbers in order for the dollar signs to start showing up. And in California, it appears those dollar signs are coming in the ways of education. I want to read you this story from the New York Post because it begins to open up your mind as I was opened in the monologue, thinking back to when I was pregnant or newly delivered a baby. the needs that you have. All of these are avenues of fraud. And I think if we look more critically at these social services, you're going to find a lot of them that are fraudulent. California risks $250 billion fraud, GOP candidates claim after collecting whistleblower tips. You know, I feel for the people in California. You have to. They're stuck. They're stuck. They're in a system that is what the Democrats, what the deep state envision for the entirety of America. They want one party rule. They want to drive everything that you care about into the ground. They want to redistribute wealth, which is what they're doing by giving money meant for actual needy people and giving it to others. They're redistributing the wealth. That's socialist, Marxist, communist, right? They want to pulverize you, your freedoms, all of that. Want to plug you into a 15-minute city somewhere, preferably a place that they've burned to the ground. Think Palisades, think Lahaina, things of that nature. Put you on the grid, which they can control with the flip of a switch, and then get you to obey whatever they want. I mean, it sounds completely diabolical. I believe 100% that is the story. And California is a look at what's coming if we don't figure it out. Venezuela, what California is looking at if they don't figure it out. California could be losing a staggering $250 billion in taxpayer cash through rampant fraud, waste, and abuse, according to a Republican-backed analysis of whistleblower tips. Steve Hilton, who's running for governor, this is the guy who has the hope of fixing it, right? This is the guy. He's running for governor, and Herb Morgan, who's seeking the state controller job, unveiled findings from their Califraudia tip line investigation. It's a damning review of the Golden State's bloated welfare system, which they allege has become a piggy bank for scammers and political hacks. Think about it. These aren't the people who are in charge. Lion's share are all Democrats in the state of California. Their assembly is overarchingly Democrat, right? This is how they push everything through. That's lunacy. You've got a guy who's not even in public office, Steve Hilton, who's merely running for the position, who's the guy who puts up a fraud line, a tip line. Hey, you saw something, you want to say something, you want to do it even anonymously if you want, call this number, 1-800-DEMS-SUCK or whatever it is, and give us your details. And they've gotten some details. The explosive allegations come after the duo collected hundreds of whistleblower tips through their website, califraud.com, painting a picture of systematic looting across major state programs. Now, when you have how many hundreds of thousands or millions of illegals in your state that you provide sanctuary to, right? You can justify your bloated spending and say, but we need it for all of these people. Well, why is everybody on the street? Nobody's getting the money. Where's it going? Well, about that. Who is Steve Hilton? We don't respond to MAGA made-up numbers. In the actual world where adults govern, Gavin Newsom has been cleaning house. This is Newsom's spokesperson said in a statement, right? Since taking office, he's blocked over $125 billion in fraud. This chick, this broad says on behalf of Gavin Newsom. This is akin to Tim Walz standing up and saying, we've done more to stop fraud than in any other state, and I'm going to continue until the job is done. And you're like, dude, are you not looking at all of the news? Clearly, you know what's going on. This is like Karen Bass coming out and saying very proudly, we had the largest debris cleanup ever in the history of America after the Palisades fire. And you're like, really? Well, how many new homes have you built? That number? Zero. That would be zero for our English-speaking friends out there. So the Republican candidates in California fired off a formal letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, and they're saying, look, it's education. This is what this is what the money now, the grifting in California is about. It's about fake student loan applications. It's about applications for college and what have you, all of the various avenues in terms of higher education where the money is going. $250 billion. Hilton and Morgan allege widespread pay abuse within the state's K through 12 education system. And they noted the known problem of fake community college applications designed to grift student aid funds. Isn't that special? Prior reports from the California State Auditor have described it this and that. All right. That said, I want you to listen to this. This is how the grant money in Minnesota had taken away from the most vulnerable, right, goes to those who are the most greedy. I've got a double-part news report for you here about Tim Walz's Minnesota fraud mess just got 100 times worse. Listen to this.
According to the nonpartisan legislative auditor, this is another case of mismanagement of taxpayer money. But perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS, the Department of Human Services, tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents.
But I do want to talk about what a serious issue this is and how it is, frankly, unacceptable.
Another sobering report by the Office of the Legislative Auditor, this one concerning the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants to providers treating mental health and drug and alcohol addiction, hundreds of millions of dollars each year. The audit found them issuing grants to applicants without a bidding process.
So what we saw is that there was multiple entities that could have been eligible, and they chose not to provide a justification for why they were picking those.
This report is quite stunning.
One outrageous example, the auditors found a grantee that was paid $672,000 for 1 month of work without any info on what they do. And the audit says the grant manager who paid it then left DHS a couple days later and became a paid consultant for that company.
To me, that's criminal.
Auditor Judy Randall says she was most shocked that during the audit, multiple DHS managers backdated or created new documents to try to cover their tracks.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I have never seen this before. I will say we have had suspicions periodically, but we have never been able to prove it, to document it, and we did in this case. And it's very troubling.
And this audit also proved that the fraud isn't just isolated, it is systemic.
Temporary DHS Commissioner Shireen Gandhi's response.
I was shocked to hear this information in the exit conference, and it is absolutely unacceptable that any staff would provide anything other than accurate representation of the work done to an auditor.
Now, there were a lot of questions from lawmakers about whether this audit should result in criminal investigations. So we'll see what comes from that. The Office of the Legislative Auditor provides recommendations both to the department and to lawmakers in case law changes are needed. Just one more time of what the auditor said regarding this fabrication of documents. She called it a systemic problem within DHS.
I mean, Lou, it just seems like every time you think it can't get worse, it does. I do think this is jaw-dropping. You mentioned that they were talking about criminal investigations. I think I speak for a lot of people watching right now who really want there to be some kind of accountability. Did you get any sense from that meeting today or in talking to any of your sources that there actually will be accountability?
Well, no, that's something that's going to require some follow-up, because one problem the auditors had is they didn't have subpoenas to issue to people that no longer work for the BHA within the DHS, and so they couldn't bring those people in and question them, and so it would take an outside agency such as law enforcement to look into it.
Well, I think maybe we should. So an independent auditor finds Tim Walz's Department of Human Services faked records, didn't verify who was getting grant money, and then tried to cover its tracks. This is shocking, and Mehdi Hassan says Elon Musk is the problem. Down with the truth tellers. Well, interesting. Harry Enten flapping his arms at the big screen yesterday, talking about MAGA Republicans and their views of President Trump. Polls say we don't like him anymore. What does Harry say? Curious stuff next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. In fact, it's interesting because we have a little guy, a clip at the end of the show, who's this really well-known pollster who cannot contain his disdain for Trump. And it's like, look, if you're going to be, of all things, you're going to gauge public opinion of all measures that need to be neutral, every word of every question, how it's delivered, everything, it's polling. And this guy basically comes out and says, I think Donald Trump sucks, and we're going to do everything we can to ruin him. You're like, oh, well, every poll I get from you is not going to be believable.
All you need to know about that guy is he said Kamala would win in a landslide.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah. And hey, Michael, since Toolsy's in the chat, way to cause your mom harm at the beginning of life.
I know.
I mean, come on, Michael.
He wouldn't
Latch on,
he
damn it.
wouldn't latch on. He would fall asleep. I was like,
oh, he was lazy back then.
I was like, come on, wake up. He'd go like this. He'd latch on and he'd go. And I'd be like, no. And I'd be like poking him. I'm like, 8.
Way to go, Michael.
Mama's gonna die.
Way to go. Peas and carrots. Peas and carrots. Where are the peas and carrots?
Give me something. All right. What do we want to talk about? Okay, Healthy Cell. So on my watch, and I don't necessarily feel it, but I'll get a buzz. It'll go bzzz, and it's like, wow, your stress level's a little elevated right now. And sometimes I'm just sitting here and I'm like, really? I don't feel anxious. And I certainly wouldn't want to go on any medication, but I have been close to a panic attack. Talk about a terrible feeling. That's awful. When you really begin to feel like you're going to lose control. It's an awful feeling. Then when our friends at Healthy Cell came out with Calm Mood, I was like, what an ingenious idea in the world of supplementation. So everybody sells supplements. You can go to a million different stores and buy them. You can buy them online, but most of them rely on some sort of a pill for you to swallow. Well, as it turns out, as we get older, our stomach acid kind of changes, and sometimes you can have a hard time breaking down a pill or a capsule in the gut. So Healthy Cell decided they were going to change the way by which they got supplements to you, and they put them in these pouches instead. So they're not liquid, but they're more like applesauce, right? It's a microgel. It's a gel inside, and you just whoop, it's easy to peel. I'm going to do a Calm Mood. This is what it says.
Oh, boy.
I know. If I'm like, how you doing?
Yeah.
At the end of the show, we'll be like, oh, it works. Calm Mood, soothing herbal extracts, vitamins, and adaptogens, including ashwagandha, 5-HTP, and L-theanine for relaxation and occasional stress relief. Berry lemon. And their flavors are delicious. Like when you normally take, I think about anything that you take, you're like, not Healthy Cell. So I would much rather carry one of these around with me than a Xanax. And if I can take this when I start feeling like I'm a little shaky, maybe it just takes the edge off without giving you all of the gnarly side effects of taking drugs. HealthyCell.com, and this is one of many of their formulations, but I really like this one, Calm Mood. They come in boxes like this. This would be a month's supply. And if you go to healthycell.com/Wendy now, you'll get the discount. It's worth it. Worth it. 100% worth it. Women might want to really pay attention to the bone health one. Bone strength is what it's called. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. Is there a conservative? I should just say this right now. If I asked you, all of you listening, and I'm sure there are going to be liberals, there's going to be independents, there'll be hardcore MAGA extremists, right? But if you were to be honest about the job President Trump has done so far this year, I'd say I haven't experienced a more successful year in presidential history in my life. I just haven't. You think about all of the things that Trump has had to undo, all of the landmines that the Biden administration planted along the way, designed specifically to blow up in this administration's face. And what is their overarching cause and purpose and mission of this administration? to create the finest country on planet Earth, where you have the God-given gift to enjoy your freedom and be whoever and whatever you wish. Sky's the limit. And they want to get the government out of your way. They want to get the people who want to rip you off out of the way. And they want you to have the freedom to be all that you can be. I signed up for that. Democrats have a very different view. And as this administration is scoring successes, these polls are coming out trying to create this idea that Republicans are not pleased with what this president is doing. I don't know anybody out there who's like, damn Trump. Everybody is like, dang, take notice. Harry Enton even taking notice over at CNN, and Harry drifts on the, on the ocean like a beach ball. He bobs and weaves. This is interesting though. He says, look, Republicans love what President Trump did to neutralize Nicolas Maduro. Period. Listen.
Let me be very clear. There is no rift in the Republican Party. Yes, there are some folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie who are quite skeptical of this. They are very much in the minority. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just talk the GOP on the U.S. military ousting Maduro? Ipsos, 65% support, 6% opposed. How about the Washington Post poll? 74% support, just 10% opposed. If you look among 2024 Trump supporters, we're talking about 80% support. The vast, vast majority of Republicans are with Donald Trump on this issue. Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene are very much in the minority. Very few Republicans are with them.
There is no rift in the Republican Party, he says. You know what the rift is? I'm angry. Because this all could have been accomplished 7 years ago. If the freaking Democrats had gotten out of Donald Trump's way and hadn't tried to set him up with Russia, and then the phone call, and then impeachment, and oh my God, blah, blah, blah. If they had just gotten the flip out of the way, we wouldn't be going through this. We wouldn't have gone through 2020. We wouldn't have watched an election slip away because they stole it. We wouldn't be going through this. Harry continues with John Berman, the anchor there, pointing out that Republicans are solidly behind President Trump on all of his moves, not just taking out Maduro, but everything. We voted for this.
You say they're with him on this issue. Do you even need those words, this issue?
No, I don't need the words, this issue, because the bottom line is this. Donald Trump has had an iron grip on that Republican base for a long period of time, and it is the same iron grip that he had 6 months ago. I know every so often people are trying to say, oh, I spot these little rifts in the Republican base. They're finally starting to break. They're starting to break from Donald Trump. It ain't happening, at least when it comes to the approval rating. Look at this. 84% 6 months ago, 85% now. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know 85% and 84% are basically the same number. In fact, 85% is 1 point higher than 84%.
How pissed would you be if you were a Democrat? Nothing they have tried to throw at this man or his base has worked. He gets 95% crap news coverage. If the media are talking about him more than 9 out of 10 times, it's a negative story. They make up crap about him. They make up fake polls, right? They try to kill the guy. That's how much they hate you and what you did to create him. Because remember, Donald Trump did not make MAGA. MAGA made Donald Trump. And he has lived up to his promises, delivered on his pledges. He is walking line by line on his Agenda 47 pledges to us, which, by the way, he put on paper in 2022. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, hour number 2, literally throwing gold bars off the top deck of the Titanic. The Biden administration, you want to know how much money they gave away to unverified child care centers? Just in 2024. How about $19 billion? How many of them do you think they vetted? Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. By the way, the net approval on the detention of Nicolas Maduro by the United States across Latin America is quite interesting. And guess who the one country is that is not pleased with it? Anybody? Bueller. Mexico. Oh, why not?
Shocker.
Why Mexico? Why aren't you pleased that Nicolas Maduro has been basically extradited to the United States? Why? Why is that? Because apparently a lot of his criminal enterprise was running through Mexico.
Shocker.
I know, it is shocking, guys. Very vexing. Well, it was interesting, as Brock had alluded, he had gone to see somebody, and he was grateful to say he's not at Dr. Rafferty's level yet, but he's been having this pain down his leg, and he's like, oh, it's just not gotten better. So about 6 weeks go by, and he finally gets in to see a doctor, and the gentleman, who's a super guy, tells him, thank goodness, I think that we could do some stuff for you to help alleviate your symptoms, because if you continue on this path, you're going to be seeing Dr. Rafferty.
Literally said that.
You're going to be a candidate for intradisc neutrosis, which is basically what it is, which is a non-surgical way for discs that have gotten out of place, or they've fallen apart for whatever reason, they've deteriorated. And now you're having pain. You're having this pinching pain, nerve pain. And you learn something about nerve fibers too. They're infinitesimally small.
Hair follicle.
Like the strand of hair. That's how small they are. And so you can imagine if your disc is in between your vertebrae, if that disc is getting shrunken or it's slipped out of position and your vertebrae are jamming on each other, they're rolling over on those fibers, on those thin hair-like fibers, which are your nerves. And you feel terrible, right? This is why we talk about Dr. Rafferty, because the surgery sometimes is the only solution, but don't you want to try everything before you get to that? Well, that's what intradisc neutrosis is, and it's unique to the PittsburghDiscInstitute.com. PittsburghDiscInstitute.com, 412-906-9600. Look, I say 4 out of 5 of us is going to need a spinal expert. Why not make Dr. Rafferty your phone a friend? 412-906-9600. Plug it into your phone. This is the guy we know, we trust. The success stories are huge. 98% successful. What? PittsburghDiscInstitute.com.
I was interested because this guy knows Doc Rafferty.
Right.
And he was telling me that, people were like, because Doc doesn't deal with insurance companies because they won't cover it. He said that what did I tell you? 5% of all back surgeries are emergency and necessary. 5%.
5%. The rest.
And then he's on top of it, he's like, and the real kicker is people think they have insurance because we were just BSing about insurance being crap.
Uh-huh.
And he said that the cost of the average back surgery out of pocket is between $6,000 and $12,000.
Wow.
$6,000 and $12,000. I was like, no. He's like, insurance only covers so much.
Right. Hey, Wendy, I always appreciate you. I do want to tell you about your sponsor, CB Distillery. I appreciate them now more than I ever could have imagined. I've always been a light sleeper who wakes up several times a night about every 2 hours. I don't get deep, restful sleep, and regardless, I rarely wake up later than 6:30 anyway to start my day. I've seen a few doctors over the years, basically was told that, nothing is wrong, and other people have it far worse. Super. So at 54, I decided to try CBD. I got a month's supply of gummies from another local company, and they helped, but they were expensive if I wanted to buy monthly. So I compared prices and ingredients, and I signed up for a monthly subscription with cbdistillery.com, and now I know what it is like to sleep. Truly. It's everything you have said. I wake up to use the bathroom and I fall back asleep into a deep sleep. I typically wake up one more time and then I fall back again into a deep sleep. And I still wake up at my usual time without feeling drugged. That's a huge thing. I stay up later at night too. I decided to write this to you now because I'm waiting for my order. And without it, I'm back to my old sleep patterns. That's from Dawn. Dawn, thank you. CBDistillery.com. Use my name, Wendy. You're going to get a nice little discount, 25% off. 25% off. Remember, CBD products are great for sleep. They're great for pain after exercise, great with stress and anxiety. All three across the board. I don't see why you wouldn't get it. CBDistillery.com, promo code Wendy, 25% off. They're phenomenal. And I think everything they do comes with a money-back guarantee. Let me see what that says. I might be making that up, but I don't. 100% money-back guarantee. 2 million happy, satisfied customers. I knew it. No dyes, no fillers, no nothing. 2 million happy customers. It's pretty good. Kind of like our numbers, you guys. 5,400. I'm very pleased with that. You know, we're not getting a whole lot of love from them today, but it goes to show that we could do it without them. How's everybody? Brock, what's going on? What are people saying?
I don't. I wasn't paying attention.
Now's a really good time for somebody to say something nice about me.
Oh boy.
What? How you doing?
Just say no to drugs. That's why I went to see this guy. I don't want to take drugs for it. I don't want to.
Right?
He had this chair.
Brock has been, he's like, can I have this chair? Can I write it off as a business expense? I'm like, I don't think so. Right? Hi, Demanda. I saw Demanda's Wendy Bell radio tattoo. It could have been a little bigger.
Was it on her face?
It's right here. It's a big teardrop. It's about this. She looks great. Oh, I look great. Thanks, John. Thanks, UPS, John.
Oh, you butt kisser.
You know, I'm always primping. It's just it's the girl in me. Just kidding. Toolsy was on. Is that so? Is he on now?
He said he didn't know the story about him not breastfeeding.
Not a latcher?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. It was God's cruel joke. Cruel joke.
I don't believe him.
I
can hear you complaining to him.
4, 3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell, America's anchor mom, fighting for America 1 hour at a time. Welcome to the family.
We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with health care and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
3 hours of gold, truth, and excellence. You've just signed up for the WBR Army. Strap in. This is the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Wendy Bell radio program is live. I invite you to get the podcast. I know you guys got to sometimes bounce and do other things with your day, though it should be completely dedicated to me. I get it. Wendy Bell Radio is where you should look. Get our podcast. Download it onto your device. 7 million people right around the corner have already done so. So excited to be able to announce that soon. So welcome back. You know, as I think about how much money, for how long, how much of our national debt has really just been gross mismanagement, gross thieving, and how many people have been in on it? Like, how do you live with yourself? Can you imagine knowing that you were signing up for or onto or being complicit in, being a part of the fabric of fraud? And can you imagine just kind of continuing your life like that? Can you imagine being compensated for that? Like, just the thought of that makes my heart heavy. And yet, sort of like election fraud, how many people had to be in on it? How many people have to be in on it? And then the apparatus of abject fear to silence people, to freak them out into silence. Don't you dare say a word. because we will destroy you. This Biden administration in their last year, they were so destructive. How does anybody look at a Democrat candidate for anything and say, you know what? I know you're affiliated with that party that did all of that. I don't trust you. I don't believe in you. I certainly don't subscribe to your views of this country. And judging by the performance the last time your party was in charge, man, you suck. Hook, line, and sinker. Alpha to omega, soup to nuts suck. And we're pissed. And you're forcing us to fight to fix it. You're forcing us to dig into the shadows and uncover all of the secrets. All we want is not to be robbed. And shouldn't that be not too much to ask? Well, the New York Post broke another story last night. Biden administration. I mean, this child care stuff going on in Minnesota. It's not just Minnesota. You needed to have a whole network. You needed to have an apparatus. And the Biden administration and the DNC gave it to them. The Biden admin gave child care centers billions without verifying attendance, allowing loopholes and fraud. I mean, think about it. Think about the incompetence. And then think about the perverse, disgusting degree of fraud. The Biden administration did not require verification that kids were even attending child care centers before they sent them as much as $19 billion in federal funding. A stunning oversight that the Trump administration is trying to reverse. Like Trump knew about it, right? He knew this was going on, but he has to wait out the clock. You get elected and then you got to wait. And that pivotal moment from November 3rd or 5th or whatever the election day, what particular year happens to fall on. And then the following year's January 20th, when a new president takes the oath of office. You've got in that window, what, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever the case might be, to do whatever you want as the outgoing administration to make sure your people are covered? Is that what this was? $19 billion in taxpayer money over 20 months. It may have been spent right before President Trump could correct provisions that could have prolonged massive daycare fraud in Minnesota. Congress appropriated this funding to support working families and to ensure children have safe places to grow and learn. And think about that. You're talking about vulnerable children. You're talking about parents who are working, who ostensibly need help with their kids, right? And you're abusing the system where there are needs. And you're redirecting the funds from those people, from children with autism, from people who might be disabled but can live independently with a little bit of help. You're robbing them. You're stealing from them. The very victims you come out and pretend you're all about. Wave your rainbow flag, protect trans rights. Really? And then you go as the Democrat Party and you trample the rights of children or of the autistic or of the disabled or of those who are addicted or of veterans, fill in the blanks. Yes. Trump Health and Human Services officials announced Monday it would restore attendance-based billing and reverse a Biden-era practice of states paying the child care centers without proper checks. President Biden rule. It's a thing. It's called the President Biden rule. It took effect April 30th of 2024, meaning more than $19.3 billion in taxpayer dollars over 20 months may have been spent before Trump could correct provisions that could have prolonged massive daycare fraud in Minnesota. I want you to hear the guy that's gotten a lot of play. This is the deputy HHS director. This is that guy, Jim O'Neill. He and the other guy, Alex Adams, who look literally like they're doing a Saturday Night Live skit standing next to each other and being like, we've uncovered all this fraud and it stops today. You're like, clearly this is a parody, but it's not. These are people who are saying, we're not playing the games anymore. If you want child care money, you got to prove to us that there's children and that you actually are caring for them. Here's Jim O'Neill, part one.
Hello. I'm HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill.
I'm Alex Adams, HHS Assistant Secretary for the Administration for Children and Families.
For the past 2 weeks, everyone's been asking questions about the political patronage system in Minnesota. Incompetent state officials, through negligence or by design, for years have stood by as taxpayer money was diverted into the pockets of politically connected cronies. State officials have been unwilling to provide definitive confirmation about the size and scope of fraud. This much is clear. Governor Walz's administration is taking away money from working families and giving it to fake daycare scams. Raising a young family is a blessing, and it's okay to need help. Many families struggle to find affordable childcare and rely upon state and federal assistance. Unfortunately, Governor Walz has allowed resources to be wasted on wide-scale fraud, diverting those resources away from the families who rely upon them to make ends meet.
These are not victimless crimes. Every dollar stolen is a dollar stolen from children and families who need those services the most. But fraud does not happen in a vacuum. The policies set in Washington influence how states administer these programs, and those policies can either prevent fraud or invite it.
Unfortunately, the Biden-Harris administration adopted rules for the Child Care and Development Fund that created serious vulnerabilities. Those policies weakened accountability and made fraud easier, not harder.
How about this? Between 2021 and 2024, the Administration for Children and Families shelled out more than $91.8 billion from its Child Care Development Fund, a federal block grant that helps fund child care in states, U.S. territories, and tribes. A whopping $56 billion went out the door just in 2021 during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, you know, that's interesting because people weren't returning to work. They were working remotely. Why on earth would $56 billion in child care funds go out the door in a year where, by and large, the complete idea of how Americans worked during a pandemic totally shifted? Their kids weren't going to daycare. They weren't going to work. Part two, Jim O'Neill and Alex Adams with HHS say, look, we want to reverse the Biden rules that made these scams so easy and so prevalent. And so this is what we're changing. Thank you.
That's why today we released a proposed rule to repeal those Biden-era mandates.
The proposed rule does three important things. First, it ends the requirement that taxpayer dollars must pay for childcare before services are provided. States will no longer be forced to send payments to providers upfront. Second, it ends the mandate for enrollment-based billing. Payments can once again be based on verified attendance, not just enrollment, so that providers can't bill for children who never show up. And third, it ends the mandate to pre-fund guaranteed seats at child care centers without competition. This restores parental choice and brings back market incentives that reward legitimate, high-quality providers.
Taken together, these changes ensure that payments reflect real services and real attendance, making it far harder for fraudulent or non-operational centers to game the system. Across welfare programs, Biden administration policies effectively backed up a Brinks truck and sent the security home. In childcare, that ends today.
About it. Trump cut off the head of so many funding snakes. Sam Bankman-Fried is unavailable to give to all of his Democrat friends. That's billions of dollars there. They're moving. Jeanine Pirro is moving to get George Soros money, dark money, out of all of these campaigns, all of these activist campaigns on the ground protesting whatever the Trump administration is doing. They shut down Act Blue. They identified all of the abject waste in the DNC and identified the $10 million loan they needed to get to pay influencers $20,000 to pretend as though they hate Donald Trump. What else? Unwinding all of this fraud, all of the pay-to-play schemes, all of the ways in which not just Democrats, but Republicans too have gotten rich. Enough is enough. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, citizen journalists are still running with Nick Shirley's ball. Why is the manager for the Quality Leering Center so chummy with Minneapolis's mayor? I mean, it seems so weird. Duh. Next.
I think, you know, just I think that we should take the taxes and change it. You know, one of the ways I think you could make healthcare affordable is let me write off my premium of my taxes at the end of the year. The government doesn't have to dole out the money You know, it's earned. Let me write that off. But what if we did that with mothers, saying, "Hey, you know what? If you want to stay home, your husband can write off the cost of what healthcare would be of your taxes." How many moms would stay home? How many women go to work to just cover? Because I've never had daycare, but
a lot of families, you get to that predicament where you're like, I'm working just to pay for the child care.
right.
And then you're like, well, if I stayed home, which would be beneficial to everybody, right? Yeah, it's very interesting. I got something about MCT Wellness. This is Dr. Gundry's drink that I love so much. I'm drinking the watermelon lemonade right now. This is what it looks like. But I got this from Heather, and I love Heather. I don't know if she's watching. Heather from Renfrew. It's her post here. She says, hey, Wendy, I've been drinking Dr. Gundry's MCT Wellness. I love the blueberry lemonade, and I don't really even like blueberry. I was up to 190 pounds. Because my thyroid medication was not working. I since have had it adjusted, but I also started to drink the MCT Wellness. And honestly, I haven't even been eating any differently. I'm now down to 175 pounds, 15 pounds. I'm so excited. My waistline has gone down 2 belt holes. I could never lose any weight before, even with my medication at the right dose. So this is a huge game changer. She also saw, remember when she fell and bonked her knee and she showed us her bruise, and then she started taking Blood Flow 7 and she showed us the bruise the next couple days and it was almost gone. It's almost like Blood Flow works. It's almost like MCT Wellness. This is the healthyfat.com/Wendy. This is this wonderful drink. It's just a typical powder. That's what it looks like, right? And Brock puts it in water for me and gives me some of that fantastic Pebble Ice from the Chef IQ. And this is what I drink. And I'll tell you, you drink this, you do not eat for 5 hours. You just don't. You just don't. It's quenchy. It's delicious. And inside the powder encourages your body to dump holding on to calories that it usually does. It's like a way to flip a switch and dump all these calories that your body's holding on to just cause. And that's how it starts the process of you losing weight. Dr. Gundry lost 70 pounds drinking this. 70, right? This is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who are serious about feeling great. I love it. I think it's delicious. Does it help me lose weight?
I just sent you a text, which is another way to take care of a problem for Trump.
Always watching, says Heather. I love you back, sweetness. For a very long time, buying and owning a home was considered the pinnacle of the American dream. It was the reward for working hard and doing the right thing. But now, because of the record high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress, that American dream is increasingly out of reach for far too many people, especially younger Americans. I'll read this.
There's a way to take care of it. You know, like I'm not saying that the government has to cut me a check, but just relieve my pain as a parent of childcare.
There are many ways to do things that are of benefit to the American family unit.
Yeah, let's be creative.
And I think we need to kind of glom on to that a little bit more. Came out that President Trump put out on his Truth Social account. And I hope my son, Michael, or Jack, I hope my 2 of my 3 adult sons are listening, because this is for you. For a very long time, buying and owning a home was considered the pinnacle of the American dream. This is the president's truth. It was the reward for working hard and doing the right thing. But now, because of the record high inflation caused by Joe Biden and Democrats in Congress, that American dream is increasingly out of reach for far too many people, especially younger Americans. It is for that reason and much more that I am immediately taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single-family homes. And I will be calling on Congress to codify it. People live in homes, not corporations. I will discuss this topic, including further housing and affordability proposals and more, at my speech in Davos in 2 weeks. Interesting. Interesting. Is he going to the World Economic Forum thing? Apparently, is that what that means?
That's usually
It
Davos.
sounds like what that means. He's
Maybe
going
he can
to
tell Klaus
Switzerland.
to go.
Klaus Schwab, go pound sand with George, your buddy Soros. Well, that is a very this president knows what's going on. He's listening. I think we've barked at him enough times, but I think he's getting it. He knows it. I want you to hear citizen journalists. They're still out there, as I said. They're taking Nick Shirley's ball and they're advancing it up the field. Why is the manager of the Quality Learning Center exposed? I mean, if you're going to have a learning center, you might as well spell the words correctly. Why is he dancing with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry at his re-election celebration? It's almost like they're all so comfy together. Listen to this woman ask some interesting questions.
Am I going crazy, or is this the same guy? Is the manager of the infamous Learning Center in Minneapolis also one of the guys that was dancing in the back of Mayor Jacob Frey's election victory video, the one that went super viral where he thanks his constituents in Somali for re-electing him last month? Abraham Ali claims to be the manager of the Quality Learning Center and says that there is no fraud going on whatsoever there. He very well may just have a doppelganger who happens to look just like him that lives in the very same city he lives in, or he could be one of the Somali community leaders who is working with local electeds to keep some of these fraud schemes going. But that would just be crazy, right? I could be totally wrong to assume this, but he's got a very unique face and hairline. Put out a certain message about a certain group. I mean, he looks so similar to this guy going... I mean, hypothetically speaking, it would make sense that someone running a fraudulent business would have a vested interest in who is in control politically in the city where they are running said fraudulent business. And Jacob Frey is no stranger to simping for Somalia. Hell, he even puts out campaign videos in Somali for...
Maaga Egawa Jacob Fry, Doke Magalada, Minneapolis.
And the cherry on top is that Governor Tim Walz, after being radio silent, finally comes out and puts out a statement days later, just a few minutes ago. And what does he do? He blames Trump. Trump keeps letting fraudsters out of prison. I'm curious, do you guys think this is the same guy? Because if I was the DOJ, I would be getting to know Abraham very well right now.
I think it's phenomenal. Why is it that you're dancing and speaking the Somali language? It's almost like you're allowing them to rip off the Minneapolis taxpayer and the federal taxpayer, the American citizen, who then they go donate back into your coffers, and then the cycle rinses and repeats. It's almost like we know what's going on. I want you to hear Adam Carolla. Now, I'm not really familiar with him, but Brock tells me he's got a history with Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, he started the Man Show on Comedy Central. He and Jimmy
K. Okay. And so this is interesting because I'm not going to say that Adam Carolla is MAGA or Republican in any fashion, except he can smell a scumbag and he smells one.
You're standing at a podium. Take questions.
Yeah. Also, just hours after you announce that you're not running and saying that you're eluding, even in that very coiffed statement, you're not running because you know that this fraud scandal is going to ruin your campaign and take up all of your time.
He's a douche and he's a dope, and his wife is worse than him, and his daughter seems worse than both of them. So off. Hit the bricks, you idiot.
It's $1 billion right now. And we keep hearing from these whistleblowers that they brought this to the attention of the governor's office forever ago.
Yes.
I don't know. There's some local reporters and activists on the ground that actually think that he made the decision because there might be more coming out.
Oh, yeah. It's just going to get worse for him. And yes, he's doing this. And good riddance. But it's sad. I mean, this guy was almost vice president in the United States, which is crazy.
I'm like, come on, Democrats. Come on.
Come on.
Anytime liberal friends of mine are like, who are you guys going to run in 2028? And I'm like, well, it won't be Tim Walz or Kamala Harris. So
yes. Ugh. All right, good. He's a douche. He's gone.
I laughed out loud. He is a douche. Yes. Someone who hates America that much, whether it's because they're complicit, whether they're aware of it and they're too much of a willow to stop it. You are the furthest thing from a leader. You are a spineless little white weasel, Tim Walz. But it's Trump's fault, because that's what you're about to hear, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Nick Shirley's latest video digs even deeper. Nick sits down with his whistleblower friend, David. and they dig into this whole transportation fraud in Minnesota. Why are there 1,200 independent transportation companies? Is there actually a need for that? Of course not. Duh. Next.
Now, I don't know how much it is, but 0.00005476 of Bitcoin was put in the tip jar.
Wow. What is the value of 0.000? How many zeros?
4 zeros.
5476. 5476 in
17 awakening.
in Bitcoin. Let's see. Don't hurt my feelings, 17 awakening. Let's see. That is
$4.
I don't know how to read this. 91,202. I don't understand what that means.
$91,000. I'm out. Cash out. I'm going to get one of those
I love
chairs.
that Bitcoin tip jar.
Yeah, I'll go get me one of those chairs.
It's right next to the follow button. You should totally check it. No, I have no idea how you. I don't even know what is the value of 0.00005476 in Bitcoin. What is the dollar value? What's that worth in U.S. currency? Wow, it's going to say it is U.S. currency. $4.
Someone's saying $5.
$5. All right. Thank you.
But could go up. That's the nice thing.
Wow.
So I'm not
Today's
getting a chair.
Bitcoin price around $92,000. The calculation is pretty straightforward. So you multiply your zeros times 92,000, and that's what you get. Okay.
That's a lot of math.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you for that. That was awfully nice of you. I appreciate. All right, let me tell you about Sniper, disinfectwithsniper.com. I mean, I told you, and this is just a rando example, as I sprayed Sniper on something that was moldy and covered with yuck, and it completely peeled off all of the black on the outside of this planter that I have my fern in by the front door in the summer and the spring. And I was like, dang, I love this stuff. Now imagine what it can do to your surfaces inside your house that you can't see, right? You spray it on the ground of your shower. You spray it on the doors of your shower. Antibacterial, antifungal, mold, all of that sort of stuff, mildew. And beyond that, how about all of the germs that make us sick? If you've got kids coming home from school, this is usually the time they come home with some great viruses with the barking seal cough, right? Well, why not protect your house? I will tell you, we have had negligible illnesses in our household since using Sniper. This is what it looks like. Free shipping is beneficial when you're sending liquid across the miles, but this is what disinfectwithsniper.com gets you. Sniper, Knockout, Harmony, all of these various products, all of which are safe for you and your family and your pets. They will not hurt you. I appreciate that, right? That's what we're talking about. Disinfectwithsniper.com. It does not leave toxic residues. It does not produce volatile organic compounds. It kills mold, mildew, fungal infestations, and spores, but does not harm your indoor environment. So it's not bad on your plants. It's not bad on anything. Change your world, guys. It's going to make you healthier.
If you spray it on your plants, you have to dilute it 50 to 50. 50% Sniper, 50%.
Why would you spray it on your plants?
You can get fungus on your plants.
Oh, and so you can defungal.
Yeah.
Unfungalize?
Yes. Whatever that is.
I don't even know how you say that. What do you say? I don't know. I really needed to go to the bathroom.
So do I.
Go.
I can't. I have to push a button.
Pardon me.
And then we have a bunch of sound.
Oh, no.
I'm just happy I'm not in any pain. Other than my headache from listening.
Ireland contracting. So the roofer guys across the way, This is the time in southwestern Pennsylvania. We have this little warm up. This is the time to get Ireland Contracting out to your house and up on your roof, right? When it's not slippery and icy. Have them look at your roof. Have them look at your shingles. Have them look at your gutters and downspouts. And get an idea if you need, because you know if you need somebody to come out to your house and look at your roofing, right? You can only flex tape so much stuff. And then you're like, dang, honey, we've got a problem and it's going to be expensive. Why don't you have an idea of what it's going to cost you before it bites you and you're like, ah. That's what Ireland Contracting is all about. They'll come to your house. They'll give you an estimate. I think the estimate's good for a year. It's free, right? They tell you exactly. And if they're on your roof, what I like about them, they take pictures. They're like, this is what I saw. This is what's going on. This is why it's imperative. Or this is why you have some time. You probably have 2 years. You might want to come back earlier than that, but that's the deal. Ireland Contracting, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. I love how honest they are, and they're neat. Appreciate that. Shoot, I almost make a mess in the basement when I know Dan's going to come over and do some electrical crap because I know he'll vacuum. I'll be like, can you hit the bathroom too on the way out?
Wow. I think there's an electrical outlet in there.
Yeah, I don't know. You might check it, but take this vacuum with you. He's great.
Can you walk the dog too?
Let's see
Drop
what's
him off
going
at the groomer.
Let's see what's going on.
He
with...
doesn't have an appointment for.
Yeah, I know, right? See what's going on with Nick Shirley. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. So I've been following Nick Shirley, and you gotta love how it's a 23-year-old guy. Isn't it so cool how just God-given curiosity and a get up and go? I mean, isn't that the whole idea of what created this country? Right? People moving westward, people thinking about expansion, thinking about innovation, growing their ideas, having the audacity to launch them, growing businesses, building families, expanding cities. I mean, that's the entirety of the American dream, right? See, the Democrats want you to believe that the only way to get ahead is with the government. The government is the answer. Big government. Government holds the key. Government holds the money. Government makes the decisions. Government will take care of you. Look at your local post office. Does it look straight out of Beirut? Because mine does. It's a shame. It's a shame what the federal government in general does when it touches a business, whether it's postal service or it's healthcare or what have you. Nick Shirley showed us that a 23-year-old who decided not to go to college, he did some other stuff, not to go to college, but he did get over to El Salvador and get a tour of CCOT. How do you think that happened? Did you guys see? Nick Shirley beat Cheryl, whatever her name was, over at 60 Minutes, whose story got pulled by Bari Weiss at CBS. Nick Shirley's already been inside CCOT. How is that possible? He's just some kid, right? Some kid with a camera and a little fuzzy microphone. Like, what the hell does he know? He knows how to go places. He knows how to ask questions. He knows how to be suspicious. He knows how to use resources. And he sat down with his whistleblower, this guy named David Hawk. And they're talking more deeply now in this phase 2 of their investigation as all these other tips are pouring in from around the country. Hey, you need to go to Seattle. Seattle, Washington is a nightmare of fraud. And you're going to hear Nick say that. We're on our way there. Can you imagine this guy could be a one-man, let's just say governor wrecking crew? He took down Tim Walz in less than a week. I want you to hear what they say is coming. Ilhan Omar's role in this whole Somalian fraud thing, she could try as hard as she wants to be like, I don't know. I know nothing. Please listen.
Now, talk about people like Ilhan Omar and her influence here on the Somalian community. What influence does she have on what happens here?
Well, she's a key reason that we have so many Somalis here. She was a big proponent of drawing them in because once she realized how loose the regulations were here on all of this money, this welfare money, this assistance payments, she started bringing the Somalis in, and they came in from all around the country. So not only were they coming from Somalia, they were coming from Texas and Florida, New York, and everywhere else, because the word went out, you got to come to Minnesota because it's open season here. And so that's why, and they're still coming here, and they're still gonna get money. And so Ilhan Omar is, I mean, she's the godmother of the Somalis.
And so whatever she says goes.
Yes.
And whatever she says goes. Now let's talk about the Somalian population in general. And it might be an unsavory characterization, but I kind of liken them to sheep. They kind of move like a flock, right? There aren't people outlying. There aren't like independent people. I think they're all kind of in this community sheep-like organization that kind of protects itself from outside influences, right? And if you dare say anything about them, of course, they're dark-skinned, so you're racist. So there's that inherent, baked in argument. If you're like, I don't care what they look like, I just don't want them to steal my money anymore. Well, you're racist. Now, I just told you I don't care what they look like. I don't want them to steal my money anymore. Tell me about the Somalian population, David.
You keep referring that Somalians don't move alone. If one of them moves, 10 of them move.
Yes.
So that's how they're able to multiply and almost compound here as far as their populations.
And so the idea is that they want to repopulate as quickly as possible. So that's why all these Muslim women you see, they're always pregnant all the time. Because when you have all these children, now you can start to overtake a city, a society, and now you run for school board, you run for office. We had a Somali guy, I couldn't believe he didn't get elected mayor of Minneapolis, but Jacob Fry, who was elected mayor, he's even worse. He bows down to the Somalis, he tries to speak their language. It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing, and it's America last. Anybody who has been in bed with this community, either seriously or peripherally, it's a super bad look if you're not paying attention. The rest of us look at you now, and you are a criminal and a fraudster too, until you prove us wrong. It's not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty. How else are we supposed to look at this? And so Nick asks David, all right, so let's talk about the religious beliefs of the Somalian community and this penchant they have to repopulate their areas. You know, it's not just the Somalians in Minneapolis. Think about what's going on in Texas with Muslims. Think about where you are. Is the landscape changing a little bit? Because it damn well did in Minneapolis. Listen.
And so these Somalis, they're Muslims, and Muslims are able to have 4 wives. And
Yes.
they're able to have, I don't know, I doubt there's a cap to how many kids you can have, but by having 4 wives, you're able to have more kids than a person with just 1 wife.
Yes.
And so obviously they're going to multiply and compound inside of Minnesota. So who knows what Minnesota will look like in 50 years from now?
If this doesn't stop, Minnesota's done. It will be Somalia.
Like, we know the fraud attracted them, but initially what attracted them to come here? Because a lot of them came underneath Obama with what was happening in Somalia. A lot of refugees were taken into the United States. What attracted them to come straight to Minnesota? It's freezing up here.
I think part of the reason was that the churches, especially the Lutheran Church, got involved with bringing over a lot of refugees, and it started back with the Hmong population, which was very large in St. Paul, and I was happy to have them here. They worked, they opened businesses, they were good community members, they were good citizens, and so I think they leaned on the churches to say, hey, we need to bring these people over because they're refugees, they're fleeing conflict. What conflict? I mean, they're always at conflict. They're tribal people. They're always at war. Bringing them over here doesn't cure that. All it does is bring those problems over here.
% correct. And so what do? You move Somalia from Somalia to Minneapolis. Perfect. What if you didn't sign up for that? Well, what recourse do you have? You leave? I don't know. In Nick's 4th audio clip here says, if there was ever a plan for them to return to Somalia, are you familiar with something like if you come here under the guise of, I need asylum, I'm a refugee, I'm fleeing civil war, which might have been accurate when Barack Obama opened up the doors for them. But at some point, do they ever go back, right? Is there ever okay, we're good, things are okay, we're going to go back now? Never. It never gets better. It's sort of like Somalians. If the people who are here, who are refugees, 81% of them or something like that are on full welfare. After 10 years, after they've been in this country for 10 years, like 78% of them are still on welfare. There is no getting off of it. It is a permanent sponge class. Any way to ship them out, he asks.
When they were initially brought over, did you think, as they were initially brought over as refugees, was there a plan for them to eventually go back to Somalia?
No, I think the plan was that once they got here and they had their hand out and the state started putting money in, they said, I'm not going anywhere. And you're right, they hate the cold weather because it gets really cold here. But when you're getting $1 million a year, you can live through the winter.
And Trump, in a press conference, he was talking about how all they do is complain. He said the word bitch, all they do is bitch, and they complain. If they're coming from paradise, then they could complain, but they're coming from garbage, is what Trump said, and they're then complaining. How come you think some people that fled a place that was so horrible now come here to the United States and they continue to complain and play victim to the point where they call, if you don't support what they're doing, they call you an Islamophobe, or they call you racist, to the point where eventually everyone's kicked out of an apartment complex and it's full of just one race? Doesn't that make them racist?
Well, it sure would if we were being honest about what was going on. But see, there's always some reason to be baked into an argument to turn the argument around on the person who's calling it out. Well, you don't like them, you must be racist. And how about this? The spin-off of the child care grift, transportation fraud, right? So if you've got all these people and they're having all of these babies and people need to get here and there and maybe they don't drive. Oh, we've got to have all of these services, these private groups that drive everyone around. Does Minnesota really need all of this? Well, Nick Shirley asks.
So what's the need, for example, for 1,200 transportation companies inside of Minnesota? What's the need for that many transportation?
Well, there isn't. There isn't. You're talking about getting a ride. You already have services that are provided. You have Metro Mobility that offers free rides to seniors and low-income people. And so to have that many non-emergency medical transportation companies, it's not possible that they can transport that many people. I have been to many of these transportation companies, and I've been time-stamping my photographs for a whole year at one facility in Minneapolis. And those vans in that parking lot have not moved 1 inch in an entire year. They're all still sitting there.
And so when you think about it, you have, with the transportation companies, you have the adult care centers. So are they working hand in hand together to then say, we're getting the services from them, the adult daycare centers, to then transport them to their appointments?
So my feeling is this transportation deal is kind of the belly of the beast, because you also have these charter schools, and there's a school in North Minneapolis called Bonadier Academy. It's a K through 12 school. So that's K through 12. So that's 13 years, 13 classes, right? And they say they have 150 students. I found data that they have 136. So that's 10 people per class. How is that possible? And they're getting somewhere around $20 to $30 million a year for what?
So have a baby and then consider every single milestone leading up to the child ultimately becoming an adult. And I guarantee you, there is a grift in there that the Somalians and the people in Minnesota have been ripped off because somebody there has cashed in. Listen to Tim Walz. He was finally taking questions and trying to give answers. When asked about all of the fraud and whatnot, would he ever in a million years say it's his fault? No, of course not. Who did he blame? You know the answer.
Their idea of improving this state is being a parrot for Donald Trump, agreeing to everything that he agreed with. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It ain't happening. I'm not going anywhere. And you can make all your requests for me to resign over my dead body. Will that happen? I will fight this thing till the very end to make this state better. And the question that I think they need to decide is when did the guy in the White House resign? When does he take accountability for what he did? Because it isn't going to happen here in terms of us shying away.
What accountability does Donald Trump need to take? That he heard the whistleblowers, that he is going to help unravel it, that the money is going to stop flowing, that the fraud is hopefully going to stop, that they're going to claw back some of the money that is ours, and that we won't get ripped off again? Tim? You schmuck. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, it is actually, if you think about it, it's Marxism by fraud. The redistribution of wealth. It's every Marxist dream. We should call Zoran Mamdani. I'm sure he's jealous. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. So excited to get a message from our friend this morning that she had gone back to see Dr. Simkovich the first time she'd seen him after her treatment with him. That was 4 days, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And this is my friend whose hands, they would shake. And I kid you not, it would be akin to this. She couldn't button her shirt, hold a glass, even imagine a fork, you using a fork and a knife and holding a plate, going through a buffet line, forget about it, let alone holding onto a phone, dialing a phone. And I was like, my goodness, what if he can help you? What if the Simkovich Concussion Institute, but I never had a concussion. She's like, I don't know. I just have really bad essential tremor. Well, what if he can help you? What if he can't? Well, you're no worse off. And after the first day, finding out that she was feeling so much better. And then at the end of the treatment, that she felt like she was between 70 and 80%. And Doc Simkovich just told our friend that he thinks she's holding steady at 70% improvement from her treatment there at the Simkovich Concussion Institute. Look, if it's essential tremor, if it's chronic headaches, if it's concussion, you have a traumatic brain injury from war, from an accident, from sports, what have you, don't fart around with your brain. Go to an expert, and the expert is Dr. Charles Simkovich. They heal people there. They heal people without taking your blood, without cutting into your body, without hurting you. Dr. Simkovich's hands heal you. And after a few short days, you get your life back. 412-366-3700. SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com. So exciting. So exciting. I have lots of papers. How are you guys doing? So what is it? What's the competition for our show right now? What are we up against? We're up against some congressional hearings. Is that right? Let's see. Home. So Jim Jordan just exposed the massive Feeding Our Future fraud in today's House Oversight hearing. Convicted ringleaders Amy Bach and Salim Saeed ran a 200. We already know this.
Well, of course, Congress is just catching up.
Yes.
Was that me or you?
I don't know. It's probably me. Do you, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, dirtbag, do you have any doubt that Tim Walz knew about that fraud as it was occurring? The person responding, state representatives, should have been like, we know you knew.
Yeah, right.
Do you have any doubt? None whatsoever. He absolutely knew that it was occurring. So this is what we're going to hear about tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow. Toolsy, WBR is always 10 steps ahead of Congress. Only 10? Wow.
I love that. I love that. Hey, I also love what Dr. Dubiak is doing. Body by aim. Do we have time?
No.
Okay. We'll do that in just a minute. I don't want to squeeze. Nobody puts him in the corner.
Can't believe he's only given us 10 steps. I was going to say half a mile.
Wow. You still sound congested. Is that still your nose hair tickling you?
God, it feels like it's leaking and it's not.
You know, we call that seasonal allergies. We call that getting sick.
Yeah, but it can't be because I still have my taste. When I get sick, I lose taste.
A little too much information there. But then again, I was telling you about Michael having a hard time latching on.
Yeah, right?
That was 26 years ago. 25.
He's still causing problems.
He's my boy.
Oh, boy. Nepotism.
Beast. Why are you guys such juveniles? You're such teenage girls. Not even teenage. You're 12-year-old. You know what? Being a 12-year-old girl is the worst place to be in your life. Right? I was 12. It took 10 years to not be 12. Buck teeth, long legs, Goofy smile, acne probably, right? It's an ugly time. I just want the Democrats to grow out of it. All of the gossiping and the feelings and the rumors and, did you hear what so-and-so said? He hurt my feelings. Oh, shut up. This is the juvenile antics, the prepubescent girl antics of the left, right? Somebody's a victim. Somebody else is being so mean. And you're supposed to believe what I tell you. Tim Walz, Donald Trump hates me. That's what his excuse is for all of this. Why is all of this coming out now? Is it because you're a completely feckless leader who probably profited off the Somalians ripping you off, right? No, it's because Donald Trump hates me. He's so mean. Governor Tim Walz speaks on the state leave program after dropping out of gubernatorial race. Whatever, he says some things about this and that. But it was interesting when he's talked about, he blames President Trump. Trump is the greatest whipping boy ever, isn't he? He's like the political outsider, the guy who's not connected to anybody, and yet he's the one that they all blame when their crap goes sideways. He hates me. That's why this is going on. I'm not going to drop out of this. I'm going to continue until my term is up. Just because Trump thinks that we should have mean, cold streets and he hates me doesn't mean I'm not going to keep doing my job. Dude, no wonder your daughter's a whack job. Look at your wife. She skits too. Dude, I mean, it's so unbecoming. It's Trump's fault. Okay, you keep telling yourself that. Because you know what people out there are seeing, and they're seeing it very well here. They're seeing very clearly what's going on. This is a great audio soundbite. It starts with Nick Shirley on with Riley Gaines on her show. And he's basically talking about, let's see, so much more is about to come out is what they're talking about. And they're playing this clip of Nick with Riley Gaines on this Fox program with Martha McCallum. And she's got a Fox News contributor named David Marcus on the program. And he says the smartest thing. And it absolutely nails the whole idea of this fraud in Minnesota. Go.
There's fraud all across the country right now with these daycare facilities. You have 4 kids, I have 4 kids, you watch my 4 kids, I'll watch your 4 kids, and we'll make $25,000 a pop.
That's crazy.
And a lot of people have taken advantage of that in places like Seattle, Washington, for instance. So this fraud's happening everywhere. Now, the people have given me a mandate to expose more of the fraud, so I'll be exposing more.
Yeah. You know, we all know how much money got flooded out into these communities with so little accountability, starting in COVID and continuing after that. How much more of this story do you think we're going to see out there, David?
Oh, we're going to see a lot. We're going to see it. We're seeing it in California. We're going to see it in New York with the home health aides. And I think we need to look at this in an entirely different way. This is not standard Tammany Hall patronage and kickbacks, right? We've always had that. That was meant to keep people in power. That was not meant to be a massive redistribution of wealth. What we're seeing here is a massive redistribution of wealth. When these blue states allocate billions of dollars for marginalized communities and then fail to put in place any safeguards to stop theft, that's Marxism by fraud. That's taking money from corporations, from rich people, saying we're going to send it over here. We're not going to pay any attention to what's happening to it. And we're talking about tens of billions of dollars, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars. Absolutely. So we need to start thinking about this in those terms, not just as a small story of Tammany Hall style.
Absolutely. And accountability and justice have to be blind. And so you can't avoid prosecuting a certain group because you think it will make you look bad, which is essentially what Tim Walz is, it's suggested that he was doing with the Somali community in Minnesota.
Look, everybody cares. Everybody cares. No matter how much somebody tells you, they don't care what people think. We all want to be liked. We all want to be considered popular. We all want to be considered something. We don't want to be hated or loathed or disdained. But if you live your life according to the perceived reactions of others, you're no better than any of these schmucks who allowed this to happen, whether or not they cashed in. You're the driver of the getaway car outside the bank being robbed. Sorry, when the person inside gets shot and killed, you go to prison for murder. You know why that is, right? Stop worrying about the optics. Get down to the basics. Stop the theft. Stop it. Can you imagine how much you guys would all have in your pockets? How much do you think it would be? How much of your taxes do you think have been stolen? Tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or millions? When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, yesterday was January 6th. We didn't even really talk about January 6th because you know what? We all know what the date was. And yesterday, the Trump administration, the White House, dropped a blistering website that caused Nancy Pelosi's face to melt off. Oh my gosh, next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
That's what I was saying about taxes. Instead of giving out the money for as the country will lend you the money as taxes, but let me get it back. So you got a year to make your money and use it and give me back some of it. I'll just take some of it right now. Let me write off my mortgage. Let me write off my car. Let me write off all the things I have to buy to make life livable. Give mothers the opportunity to stay at home with their kids. I benefited from a stay-at-home mom. You know, something to be said for coming home and the first person you see is your mom asking you how your day was. You know, it's stop just giving money away to these daycare centers. Let people keep their kids at home instead of go to work to pay for daycare to get you don't even get ahead, you know. Give us the money back. I love Trump not letting the BlackRocks go in and buy all these houses. It just causes prices to skyrocket, you know, and they don't need to be as high as they are. Let's just be honest about it. You see houses now, like I bought my house for $40,000. Now, I had to put a lot of work in it, had to re-drywall. I put a lot of work into it. But I would say $50,000 worth of work into my house. So I'm still under $100,000. 2-bedroom, bath and a half, perfect size for Kate and I and Kate and me. It's just houses don't have to be $500,000 for a 3-bedroom. It's just absurd. But when BlackRock comes in and buys the neighborhood,
yep.
And I'll even say this, let people write off their rent, give them the money back and say, hey, go buy a house. What you pay in rent could be a down payment if you get it back at the end of the year on a house. Stop giving our money away.
Yeah. How you doing? All right, so I remember the first time I went into a gym, I was 25. I didn't really do that in high school. I didn't really do that in college, but when I got my first job in St. Louis, Missouri, I got into spinning and I got into weightlifting and working out. And it's very intimidating if you're not familiar with machines, you don't know proper form. And you're worried about hurting yourself because you don't want to do the opposite of what you're trying to do. But there is no question that having strong core strength as you get older is going to vastly improve your life. And also, we know losing significant amount of weight is also going to bode well for your longevity. So if you're fat, out of shape, and you haven't seen your abs in a while, why not do this? It's a great open door to get comfortable with exercise again and eating correctly. Join the 90 Ignite program with Kelly Morgan at Morgain's Fitness, MORGAINZ fitness.com. And in 90 days, she teaches you how to eat, what to eat, how much to eat, right? Until you learn that, and then you don't stop learning that, you know that. And then she'll teach you how to exercise, and she creates the exercise plan for you. And then it's up to you to get it done, whether you do it at home, whether you go somewhere else and do it. And then at the end of 9 months, she'll remeasure you and all of this stuff to see how you're doing. Everybody. The transformations are nothing short of a miracle. I will say, I've shown you all of them. I'm not going to do it again today because you've seen them. People in 90 days can lose 50 pounds, 20 pounds of fat, 12 inches. Like, it's crazy. Morgain's Fitness, MORGAINZ fitness.com. They're phenomenal. She's phenomenal. Kelly is. Join the program. When you go there, you'll see the big 90 Ignite button. Just click it. She probably has a waiting list, but hop on the waiting list and she'll get in touch with you. She's very responsive. Final hour. You know what's weird? I think the show goes faster now at this time. No? Yes? Maybe so? Mine does. Oh, let's talk about Darren. Dr. Dubiak. Look, this week only. All right? This is the genetic testing that Brock and I had done. You will never have a deeper, more inclusive, extraordinary dive into your DNA, into your double helix, into what the flip is going on inside your body, where you've come from, your parents, what they've passed on to you, and what you're giving to your children than this. BodybyAIM360.com. You don't have to go in anywhere. You don't have to give blood. You don't have to meet with the doctor. There's no parking. You don't have to worry about it at all. You just go to bodybyAIM360.com. Click the thing that says, hey, AIM print. This is our DNA test. $499. Now, you're like, that's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But this week, Dr. Dubiak is throwing in the $79 consultation, which you'll want to have. You need to have, because you can't just look at the results and be like, I understand that because I don't. I live with the doctor, right? $79 usually is the consultation fee. He's going to bake that into the cost of the $499, so you get it for free. $499 for your DNA. They do not test. They do not send this anywhere else. Nobody gets it. It's totally private.
That was the first question I asked.
Learn about you. Learn about your propensity to be an alcoholic. Learn about your propensity to become obese, to have cancer, to have various diseases, right? To develop Alzheimer's. All of these things that you can test. It is crazy. Oh, my goodness. Power surge.
Oh, boy.
Maybe that's my calm mood. How you doing? That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ah! It's not creepy. What are you sighing for? I hate that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell, America's anchor mom, fighting for America 1 hour at a time. Welcome to the family. She once hosted a 3-hour show in just 15 minutes. She once intimidated the Electoral College to audit itself. Her monologues are so sharp, they're considered a concealed carry weapon. Fact-checker sites routinely issue her a retraction a week in advance. Even her commercial breaks trend on social media. Her freedom of speech has diplomatic immunity. She doesn't just drain the swamp has to ask for cab fare. Wendy Bell is the most interesting conservative woman on radio. Keep rumbling, my friends. 3 hours of bold truth and excellence. You've just signed up for the WBR Army. Strap in. This is the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Wendy Bell radio program is on the clock. You know, Donald Trump knows everything about January 6th. The guy knows everything. He understands the players. He understands how they selectively edited things. He understands how the police moved barricades so that people were corralled from the ellipse towards the direction of the Capitol. He was well aware of the confidential human sources, i.e. undercover FBI agents who were milling around the crowd. Not to, of course, keep the peace, because that's not what they did, but to agitate the crowd, to shake up the ants in the jar so everybody was fighting and there was the narrative that the media could then gasp in unison. Oh my gosh, it's an insurrection. And everybody paying attention was like, so this is so not making sense. You guys remember the video? Because I played it 5 years ago. The video that nobody wanted you to see. I took a hit too on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. They gave me a strike on this one. As we showed the DC Metropolitan Police giving an escort to a bunch of vehicles, out of which jumped black-dressed ninjas. Right? People wearing all black, that means totally going to a Trump rally. I love wearing all black when I go, right? And these guys are seen breaking into the windows and helping each other with all sorts of different instruments. Does that strike you as MAGA? Did that strike you as a bunch of Republicans? They're all pissed. They want to break into the Capitol, tear it down. So people who love America, who showed up at the Ellipse that day, didn't do that. We know this. There was no intention to go and overthrow anything. There was great hope and tremendous sadness on that day. It was the day that the Congress had to certify the election. And there were enough people in the audience who made their way from the Ellipse to the Capitol building who had seen things, who were working the polls, who got kicked out of their polling places, who saw the abnormalities, who watched this odd flip in the numbers, who had never seen a presidential candidate or any other candidate who had poll numbers or vote tabulations that went down. Because in what world would that happen? Well, it happened to Donald Trump's world. And they showed up at the Capitol that day, hoping and praying that the system that they believe in, backed by the Constitution, which enables them and protects their right to ask their government for redress. Listen to me. Do not certify. We believe you are making a mistake. You must hear us. No! You are not allowed to be heard. In fact, you are not allowed to be seen. We're going to demonize you, and you are going to be painted as a villain. And after that, people, good, honest people who love America, like Matthew Perna, took their own lives. Yesterday, the Democrat Party held this nonsense candlelight vigil, remembering 5 years later, a threat to democracy, a constitutional crisis, an overthrow of the government. No, you guys are trying to keep the semblance of your ridiculous story together. And yet we all watch and we find you repulsive. I look at Nancy Pelosi and I see a vile snake. I listen to Chuck Schumer lie every day with his hair plugs and his ridiculous accent as he sits there and lies for a living to the American people. Well, to counter that whole shenanigan thing, the candlelight vigil, oh, we're so upset 5 years later, oh, right? The White House puts out a beautiful black and white website. And it says this, 01.06.2021. Nancy Pelosi's pterodactyl face and then the entire J6 Unselect Committee, all in unfavoring poses, which is fantastic, with the timeline of what really happened that day. And he told all of them, in this particular drop, which is accessible to you right now by going to whitehouse.gov/J6. Shows you everything that happened. Starting with this, President Trump took decisive action to pardon January 6 defendants who were unfairly targeted, overcharged, and used as political examples. Did you not just hear Mehdi Hasan say that should be what the next Democrat president does, goes after his political adversaries and has revenge? Did you not hear Eric Swalwell say the same thing? We are going to find you and we're going to track you down and we're going to put you away forever. It sounds so red, white, and blue American pie, doesn't it? Thousands of Americans paid the price for political failures they did not create. Since January 6, 2021, Nancy Pelosi spent over 3 years and nearly $20 million in taxpayer funds on her partisan select committee, producing a scripted TV spectacle to fabricate an insurrection narrative and pin all of the blame on President Trump, favorite whipping boy. And then they went after Trump's supporters. Video and audio recordings, including unaired HBO footage from her own daughter, show Nancy Pelosi repeatedly acknowledging responsibility for the catastrophic security failures, admitting we have totally failed, and I take full responsibility for not having the National Guard pre-deployed. Remember, Trump asked, he offered, he said, I'll give you 10,000, I'll give you 25,000. You need the National Guard, and they laughed in his face because they knew, they were hoping it was going to happen. People died that day who should not have. And that blood is on the Democrats' hands and the scumbag Republicans who went with them. The Democrats masterfully reversed reality after January 6th, branding peaceful patriotic protesters as insurrectionists and framing the event as a violent coup attempt orchestrated by Trump, despite no evidence of armed rebellion or intent to overthrow the government. In truth, it was the Democrats who staged the real insurrection by certifying a fraud-ridden election, ignoring widespread irregularities, and weaponizing federal agencies to hunt down dissenters, all while Nancy Pelosi's own security lapses invited the chaos they later exploited to seize and consolidate power. Democrats want to do that again. I remind you, and this is video that's included on this website, which is worth your fingers doing the walking. Here, Nancy yesterday flapping her arms, panicked that the Trump White House just posted the true January 6th timeline when he said when things happened, and it's a complete contradiction of what the Unselect Committee has tried to paint. And she was very upset, still intent to blame Donald Trump. Listen to Nancy Pelosi from yesterday.
I could never have had the idea that a president of the United States would incite an insurrection on the Capitol of the United States, this symbol of democracy throughout the world, on the Constitution of the United States, which he took, and we all took, an oath to uphold, on the Congress of the United States, who that day had the congressional responsibility to accept the results, to certify the results of the election. The list goes on. And today, that president who incited that insurrection continues to lie about what happened that day.
Really? Did he lie when he posted this video of you, Nance, in your Suburban masked, waving your aged hands in the air, saying and admitting it was all your fault? Because I remember this, and I'm sure many of you do. This is 5 years ago.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Well, it's interesting because 5 years later, it's all Donald Trump's fault, but we all know what happened. Donald Trump shares with you what he knows. He puts out video after video after video from 5 years ago, 6 years ago almost, of election fraud, of the ballots being pulled out and counted when everything was supposed to be turned off. He shows you everything, and he's telling this committee, give me a break. Everyone knows what you did. And with every fiber of my soul, you will not get back anytime soon to do it again. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, MSNBC is forced to cover. Well, they take the bait and they cover it. I want you to hear the very somber reaction MS Now has to the president's new White House page, which is quite illustrative. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. There's also interesting audio here. And one is this Democrat former White House staffer under Joe Biden and Barack Obama. And she's obviously Venezuelan, or she's Latin American and she knows about Venezuela, Maduro, what it's like, blah, blah, blah. And she calls out Democrats who are trying to put their woke, grandstanding, do-goodery nonsense out there and say, Trump is such a terrible person. He kidnapped Maduro. Oh, my God, he's not. And she's like, respectfully, take a seat. And then there's another woman who tells Democrats to not speak about what they don't understand. It is fascinating. Fascinating. All right, so let's see what we have. We have 115 from MSNBC, 2 and 2. All right, this is going to be tight. This is going to be tight. We'll make it happen. Yes, we will. Body by aim360.com. That is how you get that genetic test. Blows your mind. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to make sure. Did I get everybody? It just seems like I didn't. Simkovich, Dr. Rafferty. We did Sniper. I did CB Distillery and Texas Bullion. I think we got it. Do you think I got everybody?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. Look at this, 5,600. I will say something about this audience, which is wonderful. One,
not even 3K.
We really do need to get to 3.5. If we can get to 3.5K on this would be huge for the Rumble. So here's what I need you to do, and this is what's beautiful about it. It really doesn't take much effort. All you have to do is scroll from the box below, go down, go underneath it and find the thumbs up and the thumbs down. And if you hit the thumbs up button, that's called a Rumble, and that's what gives us a thumbs up. I approve of you. And Rumble uses this in their algorithm to determine how people are doing on their leaderboard. Yesterday, we were 4 or 5. I think we were 4, which is huge, 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 huge. As we've moved 3 hours, you would imagine that huge chunk of your audience can't move with you, right? And so you'd presume you're going to get maybe 50 to 60% drop off in your numbers. Well, we're getting a drop off in our numbers, but not in your enthusiasm and not in your participation. And that's what makes you so unique. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And we're still trying to point whore all of the follows. So if you can hit the follow button next to it, that's huge. We're trying to get to 10,000 by Easter. Kind of hit a wall the last couple days. Huh?
100,000.
What did I say? 100?
10.
10,000. 100,000. I beg your pardon. But we have a little bit higher goal than that. All right, we're going to hit these sound bites pretty quickly because I went long in the last segment. But I want you to hear Vaughn Hilliard over at MSNBC. Literally, they do take the bait. They look at this website and they get outraged and they do a show. They do a story on it. And it's like, thank you for taking it. Thank you for publicizing what we're doing. That's great. I think it's funny because he's like, they're like upset that this reality of what the timeline was, according to President Trump in the White House, it's, of course, contrary to everything that they've said. But they keep talking about it. So what do they say? Bad publicity is better than none? Sort of like that. Ice cream and booze goes together. You know what goes together is 2 scoops of really good vanilla ice cream with a porter beer on top of it. A porter, thick, dark. Stick that bad boy in a blender and have a porter milkshake. Thank you. And you're welcome.
No, I don't have a problem.
What? I haven't had one of those since I was in college. So good. Porter milkshake.
Drunken stupor in college.
Is that what you were of? You had a drunken stupor?
I was.
Really? Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. I think it's funny, and I don't think the White House was banking on this. I don't think they thought any of the major television stations or networks would actually pick up the new White House January 6th website, but MSNBC did. Here is Vaughn Hilliard, not too pleased with the site.
And just a few minutes ago on whitehouse.gov, the official website of the White House and the executive branch of this government, posting an entire timeline in which they are quite explicit in putting blame on Democrats and others for the events that transpired on January 6th and the prosecutions that followed. There are references to the, quote, mass arrests of patriotic protesters. There's a reference to the greatest election theft in U.S. history. Mike Pence's, quote, act of cowardice and sabotage. The website goes on to say the Democrats masterfully reversed reality after January 6th, branding peaceful patriotic protesters as insurrectionists and framing the event as a violent coup attempt orchestrated by Trump, despite no evidence of armed rebellion or intent to overthrow the government. My words, to be clear, there were more than a dozen individuals who were charged and convicted for seditious conspiracy. There's another passage on the website in which it says, quote, it was the Democrats who staged the real insurrection by certifying a fraud-ridden election, ignoring widespread irregularities, and weaponizing federal agencies to hunt down dissenters. Again, that is whitehouse.gov, the official page of the White House, with a new website here on this January 6th.
Thank you for covering it, Vaughn. And yes, it was the obligation of Congress to listen to the people before they certified. I want you to hear this woman. She's a White House staffer under Barack Obama and Joe Biden. She's a Democrat. She's obviously Latin American. And she's calling out the Democrat Party for selectively reporting on Maduro. Listen.
This is a video that I never thought I would make. I am a lifelong Democrat who has worked in 2 White Houses for 2 Democratic presidents. I'm the kind of Democrat who wishes that she lived in New York City so that she could have voted for Mayor Mamdani. And I made this video and making this video because I have been completely out of my mind with disappointment over the misinformation that fellow Democrats and Democratic politicians have been posting over the last 24 hours about Venezuela. And so what you're about to see is a video that Jason Kander, the former Secretary of State of Missouri, posted earlier this morning, where he incorrectly claimed that Maria Corina Machado won the 2024 presidential election in Venezuela. And this is important because what it should tell you is that Democrats are out there speaking on issues that they don't know anything about and that they couldn't even take 2 seconds to Google and fact check. Right? He goes on to do other things in the video, like imply that Maria Corina is dumb for dedicating her Nobel Peace Prize to President Trump, as if she's not a chess player, as if she doesn't know exactly what she was doing. But he's not the only one, right? It's also Rubén Gallego claiming that we're at war, telling all of his followers as a veteran that we're at war, which is so reckless, because we're not at war. Where is the war? Who is the war with, right? It is all the Democrats going out and complaining about the congressional oversight. I understand. I wish that he had sought congressional approval for this, right? Like, of course I do. But if you're going to talk about that, then I also hope that you're going to talk about President Obama, who I worked for at the time, bombing Libya for 7 months without congressional approval, right? We can't, as Democrats, pick and choose who we want to support in this world. We either want freedom for everyone or we want it for no one. And I'm going to keep on posting misinformation from Democrats on this issue because I think it's really important to call out misinformation, whether it's coming from a Democrat or a Republican.
Venezuelan woman tells Democrats, stop talking about what you don't know about.
I'm going to try to say this as respectfully as I can. To our Democratic and liberal friends, to hopefully well-intentioned but poorly informed people, sit this one out. See, when the people who are mostly affected are celebrating in the street, this is not the time for you to protest. If you do not personally know someone who tells stories about their father or grandfather being gathered in the street and killed in front of them for their opinion, if you have never had to console your friend because she didn't get to go visit her mother on her deathbed and has never been able to go lay flowers at her gravesite because she was not allowed back into her own country, sit down respectfully. What you have to understand is that regardless of your opinions about President Trump, to a lot of people, he is an answer to prayer. Yes, people have prayed for the downfall of this dictator. And like it or not, President Trump has been the answer to that prayer. See, the Venezuela that they remember is not 100 years ago. It's about 25 years ago. For a lot of them, they grew up there and they don't recognize that country and they're not allowed back. Imagine not having access to your own family. Imagine that a third of the country fled, not because they wanted a better life or new opportunities or the opportunity to make money, but they wanted to not starve in their own homes. You can't.
Wow. Unreal. People coming out left and right, calling out Democrats. Speak not about what you don't know. You know what? Why the deep state should fear Dan Bongino so much more now. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. You know, there's a part of me that the theater that will be these congressional hearings about Minnesota. You know, it's funny. Nick Shirley, 23-year-old guy, manages to capture the attention of the country and infuriate people who've known for far too long that there was some shady crap going on. And now we've got to go through the theatrics of the whole congressional slog show, this dog and pony show of, I'm going to call you up now and we're going to ask you questions. Nothing ever happens. I don't see any changes take place, right? I don't see anybody get arrested. I don't see any orange jumpsuits. I don't see any handcuffs. So it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So Tim Walz is going to go into, I don't know if he is now or what he's doing. I don't know what his schedule is. I know he's supposed to. What are you going to get out of him? Donald Trump's mean to me. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how you root it out, how you tar and feather these people, how you put the scarlet letter on them so that they're tattooed and scarred for the rest of their lives so they can never fail back into this. So you could put some kind of an ankle monitor on them so they're not allowed to ever come close to anything even remotely close to leadership. Right? Pisses me off.
His daughter.
She's a piece of
who
work.
is just toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's the same thing under the guise of she cares.
Oh, does
she's
she?
relatable. And now she doesn't have to worry about her dad running again. So look out, Donald Trump.
Oh, so
and
she's
Republicans.
what? She can be what?
She's not
She's now
held back by her dad's political run. She's going to end up running for office in Minnesota. That would be my guess. It's like everywhere else.
You know
it's
what?
Like here,
yeah, if you don't fix elections and you allow fraudulent elections, twits like that, the cycle continues. It never stops. And then you're California.
Yeah.
And when you let California happen long enough, then you have Venezuela. So good luck with that.
I hope Nick Shirley comes to PA. I'd like to see them dig into Josh Shapiro.
He's dirty as balls. This is the safest, most secure election ever. Really? Kind of an odd thing to say after all these mail-in ballots. How do you get 1 million more mail-in ballots than you sent out or than you have registered voters? I should go into that. Audit PA, audit the vote. auditthevotepa.com. Yeah. Oh, she looks great. So findings. 2020 anomalies. Let's see. So they knocked on doors, right? And they go to all these addresses. So this is a boots on the ground, door knocking. This is 2 women who never knew anything about elections or government, who get involved in the 2020 fraud because they saw it happen in Pennsylvania. And they're like, oh my gosh, what? So they go the extra mile. They take these government classes, they learn about government, and then they launch something called Audit the Vote PA. And they go out and they get all these friends or volunteers to do some door knocking. They get information from the Secretary of State. And they're like, oh, it looks like 4 people voted at this residence. Let's go knock on that door and see if they have 4 registered voters at this location. And so you get there and they're like, no, it's just 1. Just me. I live alone. And they're like, really? Because it says 4 people here. Well, 4 people don't live here. It's just me. Oh, really? So just say in my county, Allegheny County, Brox County, they knocked on 500 doors. And of those 500 doors, they found anomalies in 154 of the door knocks. It's not like 4. It's not even 50. It's not even 10%. 154.
Stop. There was no fraud.
30% of them, right? How do you win an election with more votes than there are eligible voters? Like, how does that work? So say you have 2 million 18 and older, eligible, registered, what have you, but 2.4 million vote. Well, where did the 400,000 come from?
New York.
Who are those people? Yeah, trucked in, as we know, from New York.
With a water main break.
Parked in Philly. What happened? And then, of course, the whistleblower disappears or he's silenced. You're not allowed to talk about that. Really? Why?
Why wait for Nick Shirley? He has the time.
Here's Chester County, Pennsylvania. They knocked on 250 doors. 95 answered. Of the 95, 44 had anomalies. 46%. Delaware County, big Democrat stronghold. 112 addresses attempted. 64 people answered. 38 anomalies, 59%. You think that's an issue?
That seems normal.
Where's Philadelphia County? I'm sure that was straight up. I don't know if they went there.
No, they stopped counting here. Wasn't a water main break, but they somehow stopped counting at the same time here.
It was here, it was Maricopa County, and it was Fulton County. And we chronicled it. And they stopped counting at the same time, and then this one started counting, and then this one started counting, and then this one started counting. And you're like, that's so weird. And then, oh, wait, it stopped again. This one stopped, then this one stopped, and then this one stopped. 3 different. Program, the worst nightmare for the deep state today is not Somalian fraud in Minnesota. It is not Gavin Newsom being a dirtbag. It's not J.B. Pritzker and what's ever going on in Chicago. It is that Dan Bongino is coming back to the airwaves, and they are freaked. I got an article here on townhall.com. First of all, I love the idea that Dan Bongino was tapped by Kash Patel and ostensibly the president of the United States to go serve this country. And I am humbled and I am grateful, and I can't fathom what you saw, Dan. I can't imagine what you've learned. It has to be soul crushing. And to learn that by yourself in Washington, D.C., without your wife, without your family, and trying to do this back and forth, give and go, and I don't even know where he lives. But it's a finite amount of time that you can pull that off. And so a couple weeks ago, Bongino came out and he's like, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to return to the airwaves. It's been the honor of a lifetime. But I've got to have a life, and it's slipping through my fingers. And as much as I love America, I love my family just a little bit more. Amen. Townhall.com, Dan Bongino declares war on grifters and bums as he plans to return to the airwaves. Can you imagine how freaked the deep state is right now? What he knows and what he could tell? Oh my gosh. And with the biggest audience since Rush Limbaugh, I'm so excited for him. And I'm excited for us because it's all good. People are walking away. They're not tuning in to CBS anymore. Tony DeCoble wants them to. We've had enough. Old people watch 60 Minutes anymore. I don't know a single person under the age of 50 who does, okay? We don't trust them. I trust Dan Bongino. And I hope you trust me. Dan Bongino had some choice words for what he called black pillars, life losers, grifters, and bums as he prepares to return to his show following 9.5 months serving as the deputy director of the FBI under the Trump administration. You got to wonder how Trump does it. How does this guy do it? How does he do it? Melania obviously is right there, but how do you do it? How do you keep your marriage? You got to have a real strong understanding. Right? So he comes back and he's like, look, I've declared war on the black pillars, the grifters. Cutesy time is over. We are returning to the airwaves. And he's got a look in this picture. It is of complete steely resolve. He's seen some things, and he's about ready to say some things. And they better be afraid. He said this, let me add from the jump, there is no confusion, he wrote on X yesterday. I started in this movement as a candidate during the Tea Party movement, and I began my political commentary career shortly thereafter. I helped build this movement, and I sure as hell am not going to let it get hijacked by a group of black pillars, life losers, grifters, and bums. When we are a movement guided by truth, the essence of conservative ideology is the preservation of eternal truths. Look, this is where North is still North comes into play. This is why I have such a hard time looking at the rampant abuse of our trust. Because that's not just something that you say. When Clarence Thomas said that North is still North, you can be in a thunderstorm or you can be on a calm day. North is still North, right? People can yell at you. North is still North. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right. No matter if you stand by yourself. Dan Bongino has seen this. He says, I've watched quietly from the inside while doing the job I was hired to do. But I am back now. We are not political cannibals, but it is time to restore balance to the force. As we get ready to make some announcements about the future of the show, I also want to warn the haters and the zeros. We've been at this a long time. We live for this stuff. This isn't our first, second, or 10th rodeo. We've seen a lot of dip craps come and go. We revel in making you angry enough to show your butts. It is glorious. We enjoy making you angry. This is what was so enjoyable about watching MS Now and that Von Hilliard guy report with a sphincter so tight about the January 6th website that the White House pushed out. This is the government's website. This is their official White House website. And they're putting out the timeline of truth about January 6th. Oh, yes. See, we were born for this moment. You were born for this moment, too. And for Dan Bongino to come back and to be able to share what he knows to the degree that he can is every deep stater's nightmare. As we consider what that means and when it happens, and I'm delighted for it to happen. In fact, Dan, if you're watching, and I know you have, you should probably drop these details on this program tomorrow. You know how to get in touch with me. I wanted to read to you how the media now, right? You've got this new media. You've got this new channel of energy, this new land of conservative fact finders and truth tellers, conservatives, and they are replacing the mainstream media that cannot be trusted, the deep state leftists. So I want to read you an example of why it is so important that these people be replaced. This is thehill.com. I want you to hear what they said. Who is Nick Shirley, the YouTuber who made the viral Minnesota fraud video? See, The Hill is not interested in the fraud. They're not interested in the daycares where nobody works. They're not interested in the dollar amounts. They're not interested in the Somalis. They're not interested in the in-your-face fungu bending you over and taking everything you want. They're worried about Nick Shirley. Who's this guy? He's not a real journalist. He didn't go to journalism school like we did. Nobody needs to go to journalism school when they have a cell phone and a freaking functioning brain. But what that 23-year-old young man did is showed how just simple curiosity can do more to expose the rot of deep state corruption than the people reportedly there to cover it in your mainstream media. This is the story from The Hill. YouTuber Nick Shirley became a viral sensation overnight after posting. He didn't overnight, but he did blow up after posting a 42-minute video documenting his hunt for fraudulent child care programs in Minnesota. He wasn't hunting for fraudulent. He was hunting for somebody who was open for freaking business. And he couldn't find anybody because they don't exist. Shirley's video has been viewed more than 100 million times on the social platform X and shows him visiting daycare centers receiving public funds. They're butthurt that he's gone viral. They're sweet little delicate deep state egos. No. The 23-year-old alleged that multiple local centers were not providing services to any children and bombarded employees with questions. He didn't. He knocked on the door. And he said, I'm looking for child care. I'm looking for someone who could take my son, little Joey. He doesn't have a child. They called the cops on him. Where's that in the Hill article? The vlog-style recording has blown up online after a federal investigation involving Minnesota's fraudulent Feeding Our Future nonprofit was determined to be diverting millions in funds. Yes, how about hundreds of millions for low-income children during the pandemic? Where is the outrage about that? A group of Somali American migrants was charged in connection to the scam, although a white woman was found to be the program's ringleader. Why? Why are you reporting that? So I want to go down to this part. Claims to be a journalist. You have a complete new everything, ladies and gentlemen. This is what the actual allowing of Donald Trump to win this election without the cheating we saw in 2020. This is what we've allowed to happen. We've exposed how old institutions, mainstream media, how corrupt and complacent and complicit they are as new voices just go out without perfect English, without hair and makeup and a wind machine, but with God-given curiosity, have completely thrown the media on its head. Shirley has received pushback from some traditional members of the media for claiming to be a journalist. Newsflash, I have 2 degrees in journalism. Did I need either of them? No. Is Nick Shirley as much of a journalist as I am? Yes. Yes, he is. That's the cold, hard facts. He has no background in the field of reporting. So why is he kicking your ass? Right? If background in the field of reporting is what is needed to be a reporter, why aren't reporters freaking reporting? It almost seems like they're all dirty. His YouTube channel's last few videos include one titled Inside the Muslim versus Christian Battle Growing in America. It's a pretty important topic, don't you think? I'm sure 60 Minutes and Tony Dokoupil are all over it, don't you? And one titled Confronting the Deported Migrant Scammers in New York City. Last year, this guy who's not a journalist shared footage inside El Salvador's CCOT maximum security prison. Seems like he scooped your asses. Seems like a lot of people out there are scared because they didn't think this would ever happen. They were comfortable. They threw an election. They stole it. They thought they were good forever. They started throwing gold bars off of the top deck of the Titanic, thinking that you and I wouldn't catch on. But thanks to people like Nick Shirley, and again, like Dan Bongino, we aren't just caught on. We are wide awake. When we come back on the Wendy Bell Radio program, this is why I don't trust pollsters. You're going to hear from a pollster guy who tells you point blank he hates Donald Trump. He hates him. Why on earth would you believe any kind of polling data from these clowns? Well, that's next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Thing about Politico or The Hill or any of them, these are the same people who will email you about a story they're doing and at 4:30 and say, I have a 5 o'clock deadline.
Yeah.
And then respond.
And then say, we got no comment.
And what about all the
They could not be reached for
TV
comment.
reporters that go and knock on somebody's door?
Mm-hmm.
You can't have two standards because this kid's kicking, like you said, he's kicking their ass.
Kicking their ass.
Absolutely 100% do not need a journalism.
You guys,
degree.
I have a a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Science. Okay? I thought in true defense of myself, I thought that I would go on and perhaps get a PhD and teach. And then I realized that college blows and it's just corrupt. Right? So I was like, well, I got my master's degree, kind of pushed off getting a real job because the job market, lo and behold, in 1992 sucked, right? It's interesting. My sons and others right now think it's tough. And it's like, what? It was not fun back then in the day. But like, I didn't need to go to graduate school. You know, honestly, we didn't have the technology to go do what this is right now, but I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of what I did when I was a sophomore at the University of Colorado. You know, you're in your intro to journalism, or no, I was a junior because you could get into the College of Journalism, Mass Communications as a junior. You had to get accepted. So like you could want to be a journalist and then get canned from that college and be like, snap. So it's stressful, right? So you're in one of your first introductions to the equipment, right? Here's your big video camera that's cumbersome and it's attached to this bag and this thing that you got. It's like a VCR thing you got to drag around with you. It's terrible, right? Go out and shoot some video and let's see if you can tell a story in the camera. You're not going to edit the video. Go out there and think about sequentially what you want to shoot. Tell a short story. And so like a schmuck, what did I do? Well, there was an F3 tornado in Lyman, Colorado, about an hour and a half away. And I was like, well, why would I shoot video here on college campus when I could go to Lyman and video that? I wasn't prepared for what I was going to see, right?
I
so
totally failed your class.
So I kind of did what Nick Shirley did with the technology granted at the time, where you do more than what is, right? You're like, everybody's going to do whatever the bare minimum is, but I'm actually curious. And so I made a day of it and it changed my life. And in that exercise, I got to see people picking through the rubble of their lives. And I got to see how serious it is to take a camera and to record somebody or to take their story and to tell their story. Like, how you do it matters. And I learned that on day one. And it changed everything I thought about television, right? It wasn't about being a celebrity. It wasn't about being somebody on television and being a star. It was about this awesome responsibility to share people's stories. And that one grabbed me. But it changed how I approached that job. You have to tell stories about people at their worst, at their most desperate. It's not something that you play with ever. Unless you're a scumbag.
I'd have failed your course.
Why?
You'd have probably been
I didn't teach a course.
I know. I'm saying if you did, if you would have went and got your PhD.
Well, if you would have gone, then
see my
you
point
probably
exactly.
would've.
My point exactly.
No, you have to understand certain things. You have to learn how to. You have to learn grammar in English. So you know what I love? I love the pollsters out there. I believe nobody, and it's hard. I'm as biased as the next person. I'm biased 100%. I don't lie to you. I don't tell you I'm down the middle. I'm not. I don't like what the Democrats have become. I don't like the blinders that my idiot neighbors have. And they don't see beyond what's going on. They don't see the destruction in their own community based on Democrat leadership. And I want to shake them and throat punch them and throw them down the stairs. I would lie to you if I told you I didn't feel that way, because I do. But I look at these pollsters and I'm like, of all fields, right, where you really should not have a bias, if you truly want to gauge public opinion, you can sway that opinion and manipulate people as easy as 1, 2, 3. And if you don't think it happens, well, I want you to hear this guy. His name is Alan Lichtman. And the whole basis of his conversation here, it's a short audio soundbite. It looks like it's about 36 seconds. And he says he alleges that Republicans are feeling this buyer's remorse with President Trump. Harry Enton was debunking that at the beginning of our show. This comes full circle. So there's this notion that even though Trump went in and neutralized Maduro, even though he went over to Iran and he ordered the strikes that neutralized their nuclear ambitions, even though he went to Gaza and he's like, enough with the killing, right? Enough with Hamas, enough with all of that. Even though he's trying to figure out what's going on in Russia, even though he's trying to do everything here in our country to make us safe, that Republicans really don't like this guy that we got, that we thought we were getting somebody other than Donald Trump, and we're super upset about it. And it's like, dang, if only I had voted better. And Alan Lichtman is telling you that that's the case. Well, look at the polling. 85% of recent numbers, 85% of Republicans say they support the moves this president is making. They are still, and last year was 84%. It's right on path if you believe polling. But shouldn't the people in the outfits that poll public opinion remain unbiased? This dude, who is a liberal pollster, Alan Lichtman, kind of blows the lid off of polling impartiality. This is the kind of person you get asking the questions.
Lots of Trump voters are reporting buyer's remorse, saying, we didn't vote for this. Oh, yes, you did. You were repeatedly warned that Trump would follow precisely this course according to Project 2025. Now remorse is spreading to the broader American public. In the latest poll, Trump's approval rating is down to 44%, with 51% disapproval. That's the worst of any post-war American president, except for Donald Trump in his first term.
Believe that? Does that move you? Does that move your needle? Are you all of a sudden like, well, I guess he's right? I mean, all this other stuff like buying steak, getting 2 strip steaks the other day for $16, where a year ago it was $32. I hate that. And my gasoline prices, I mean, almost under $2. I mean, like, I hate that too. He must be right. Oh, Alan. So it's not just pollsters, though. Then it's people like the Economic Times, right, who take Alan Lichtman and then bounce off of him. Well, I'm going to take this guy who says that people have buyer's remorse for Donald Trump, and he's got a bad approval rating among Republicans. This is what the Economic Times is trying to tell you. At first glance, Trump's grip on the Republican Party still looks firm. The Reuters Ipsos poll shows that 85% of Republicans approve of his overall job performance, a figure unchanged from earlier in December. Okay, so that destroys their narrative right out of the gates. This is where the but, comma, comes in. However, comma, ... a deeper look reveals emerging fractures, particularly on economic management. Right. Among Republicans, approval of Trump's handling of the economy fell to, Brock, are you ready? Man, I don't know if Trump is going to survive this. Among Republicans, approval of Trump's handling of the economy fell to 72%. Oh my God.
It's over.
It's over. Its lowest point of the year, and a notable decline from 78% earlier this month. This shift matters because Trump's authority within the party has historically rested not just on loyalty, but on the perception that he delivers results, especially on economic issues. And as that perception weakens, the fear factor that once kept Republican lawmakers and voters firmly in line may also begin to fade. Oh, shut up. How sad are you? You know, I look at these publications and I'm like, you know what? Hold on. You suck. You can't give these people any credence. You cannot believe what they write. You cannot believe what their polling says. Do I believe 85% of Republicans are fully hook, line, and sinker behind this president? I don't know. I know I am. And I know all of you, if you listen to me, probably are. In fact, ask yourself this question. How many conservatives in your circles have said anything lately that leads you to believe they don't support the direction of this country and this president? Enough said. Very easy to debunk these things with a little common sense. I love having you guys. Thank you for being a part of the Wendy Bell radio program. Come on back tomorrow. Let's do it again. Peace.